goldenrod makes an excellent tea.
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Aaron.
Me.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Tomic's veteran of the comic book industry for 30 years. I'm a writer, I'm an artist, and this sucks.
Tonight's episode, Poison.
What the heck just happened? What the heck just happened? You know, technology is not our friend. You see, that intro just ended for no apparent reason before it was finished. I'm just sitting here going, what's tonight's episode? And then it just ended. And there I was on the screen. And I was like, wait a minute, I should have 10 more seconds to prepare for this. Show's over. What the heck? It's blown up. It's just, hey, everybody, it's Aaron Live. It is February the 19th, 2023. Can you believe that? 2023 already. Wow. I mean, February 2023 already. I mean, we are 2 months into the year already. It's going to be Christmas before you know it. I mean, I like Christmas, but that means I'm like that much closer to being 60. And that's never a good thing, I don't think. Although they say 60 is the new 40. So I'll give you my my thoughts on that if I actually ever have any. There's weird stuff going on in my... I was trying to watch this on YouTube on the other channel, and you guys are hearing me okay, right? Everybody sees me okay. This is just like, yeah, there, Geek Avenger. It's the gremlin from the Bugs Bunny cartoon. It is. I had a perfect name for this episode all picked out, and it never played. It just stopped. It's like, what the heck is going on? So anyway, we'll try to make the best of it. As you can see, the chair next to me is empty today. Moment of silence. And you may also notice that the background looks a little different. And you might notice the lighting's a little better. And perhaps the sound is a bit better. We redid the studio yesterday, which when I say we, I mean Shelley and I and our friend who's been helping us reorganize and make our house less clutterful. Is that a word, clutterful? And make it more efficient, and the studio and all this kind of stuff. So I'm on the opposite side of the room than I was before. I used to be sitting facing that way, but now I'm facing this way. And we did it. We worked on it all day, and I'm still only half done. But at least we got the functional half done. So my desk area, drawing table, the other drafting table, all this stuff is sort of set up where it's going to be. It's kind of stuff on the fringes that we're still working on, but it allows me to do this, which I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or not. But anyway, Shelley is just wiped out from the work and moving furniture. And I got to tell you right now, I can't hardly walk. Unloading massive books out of bookcases, and then like moving the bookcases, then loading the books back into the bookcases, taking down toys and statues and moving those. And there's a lot of heavy lifting yesterday, moving furniture, of course, meaning flat files and drafting tables. So So we're both a little wore out. Shelley said, yeah, I just can't do it. So I said, you know what, Shelley, they don't really like you anyway. They're here to see me. So I'm going to go solo. And of course, we unfortunately know that's not true. Okay, let's address the chat, shall we? Now, I opted to go at 4 o'clock today. We're going to start trying to go on Sundays at 4 instead of 5, simply because certain people, certain YouTube celebrities like to stream over the top of our program on Sundays, thus taking away half our audience. So I thought, well, I got an idea. Let's cut our audience in half just by starting an hour early, and then at least it won't feel like they weren't leaving mid-show. Anyway, okay, so that's why we're doing this. We'll see how it works out. But we do have a guest today, Aaron Sparrow of Darkwing Duck and other things fame will be joining us. He has a new project he's gearing up to launch. And so we want to talk about that. And we'll talk about toys and other things of that ilk. You know, we're going to be hunting Bigfoot. We're going to be playing 70s Showdown, which I haven't done I did with David Williams half a year ago, maybe one time. And I thought, this is a great little sort of game. Let's do it again. So we'll try that with Aaron, as well as our regular features and many other stuff. We got comics and artwork over here I want to show you. In fact, you can see it kind of right behind me, kind of right there on the table. So we'll be showing that later. But let's address our friends in the chat. I know for a fact there's Geek Avenger, but he was not the first one here. I know it was Leg Kick. He showed up like 3 hours ago. So we can't give Geek Avenger the credit for being here first, but the thing is you get nothing for being here first anyway, but we appreciate you being here. Daniel Russell is here. Daniel, he's apparently looking for trouble right out of the gate. You know, I don't know if this is a good way to start the show or not, but here we go. Atari Forces, we don't talk about Atari Force on this show. So. H is for Heretics says only 10 more weeks until the next Graybeard's art auction. Boy, isn't that the truth? Just 10 weeks away. And, you know, the way time is flying, it'll be here before you know it. Mr. Monkey Boy 1969 is here. Bill Maxwell, of course, is here. Unhinged has joined us. I know he must be talking to me. Kevin Thomas is here. Bigfoot may be fake, but I need hard evidence that Aaron isn't the Michigan dog man. That probably is a comment directed at the hair on my arms. Therefore, that's for Kevin. Let's see who else is here. Citizen Ronan is here. There he is again. Fritzy Schnitzel. Huey Smith was one of the last remaining founders of rock and roll. How about that? I didn't know that. Huey Smith. Hey, there's Leg Kick. He came back. And there he is. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick, of course, is almost always here. Oh, H is for Heretic. Of course, at the beginning of the show, I said 100 years ago, I had no idea what happened. And H is for Heretic is informing us that, of course, Art Tabera got his driver's license 100 years ago. Were there cars 100 years ago? Yeah, I guess they would have been. That would have been the 1920s. Wow. Wow. Brian, Suddenly Old is here, says, hi, Shelley in the chat. Of course, Shelley's not even here. And of course, he does not take the effort to acknowledge me. So there you go. That's for you, Brian. Marcus Killigrew, of course, is here. Citizen Ronan accusing me of being a boomer. I didn't touch anything. It just ended. Okay, the intro just ended. I'd play it again, but you know, it's like 2 minutes long, and who really wants to see the intro again? Even though my intros are cut above everybody else's. Exactly, Fritzy Essential Fire, the show's producer. Oh, that would be me. Siege Perilous is here. Creative Faye. Hi, Aaron. How are you? I am fine, although my intro, I'm a little disappointed in my intro. You guys didn't get to see the... And the thing with your StreamYard is if you have a video clip, you can't just like move to the middle of the clip and play that. You got to start from the beginning. So Maybe I guess that allows me to use that same intro next week. So I have to do less editing. That's good. Marcus Killigrew being brutally honest. You sound good, but your looks, well, the lighting's better over here though. You can see more of me, which is not a good thing either. Tonight's episode, Boomer in Denial. I'm telling you, I'm completely innocent. I had nothing to do with why that just ended. Okay. Old man says you need a bigger house for more stuff. I agree, but I'll tell you right now, if anything, we downsize. We're not getting bigger now that we have no kids at home anymore. Although I could turn half the house into a studio and it would not, I wouldn't have like extra space. So, Aaron, will you be that's Mid Valley Comic Expo, Mid Valley Comic Art Expo or something like this? He contacted me and I have not got back to him. Probably. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't I? It's just a short drive down the road. Anti-Entity is here. How about that? Oh, look at that. Old man says Aaron Sparrow did a great video with Thinking Critical about Disney censorship today. Remember when Disney used to be our friend? Bretsky the Great is in the chat. Thank you, Bretsky, for joining us. Bretsky just made a purchase of original artwork from me recently, so he's now my best friend. Abra is 2 cents. We haven't seen Abra in a while. Thanks for joining us, Abra. Appreciate that. There's Sparrow. Hey, Sparrow, you can come in anytime you want. Shelley is not here today, so you can fill that void if you want to jump in at any moment. Don't wait till 4:30. You can do it now. Unless you're not ready, then you can wait till 4:30. It's up to you. Henry Jeremick is here. He says, Aaron, one of these days you have to draw the Star Trek villains. Gorn, Borg, Venomous, White Gorilla. Can't remember what it's called. Well, if you can't remember what it's called the Mugatu, Henry. I know. Well, we have the thing about Graybeard Studio. The sad thing about Graybeard Studio, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's my show or our show at 1:00 on Wednesdays Pacific time, where me, David Williams, and Kelsey Shannon, if he shows up, we do drawings. Like 2 hours, and a lot of times they're complete drawings, or we try and do watercolors or different things. So it's the best live stream you'll see on the internet. And but every week we have a different category. And what I do is I usually pick 3 categories, put them up in a poll on Twitter and then Facebook, and get everybody's opinion of what they want to see. And then you guys choose, and then we draw. So we plan on doing this, for a long, long time. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities to do a lot of different things. And certainly Star Trek villains will be a choice at some point. I can guarantee you that. Anyway, Brian's saying, I was assaulted for no reason. I acknowledged Aaron and Aaron's first book. So you were dropped our names and got assaulted. That sounds like par for the course in today's society. Aaron is Tanat. I don't know what that means, but I hope it's good, Abra. I know you like me. I know we're friendly. So I would assume that is a positive thing, because I would hate to have to blow you up on my show. Jackie Daytona is here. Sam Goyer. Question, Aaron. I want to get into Star Trek. Should I start with the original series and move to feature films? Yes. Watch the original series. Then you can watch. Season 3 is a bit iffy. There's some good episodes in there, but there's also some questionable content in some of those, not in terms of viewership, but just in quality. Then you want to watch the Saturday morning Star Trek cartoon, because that had actually the voices of everybody from the show. And then you can jump into the movies, but stop after 6 if you know it's good for you. And then just pretend in your own mind that you create your own Kirk and Spock episodes. Well, here he is, ladies and gentlemen. My special guest. We're bringing him a little early because I'm short a co-host. So I want to bring Aaron in to kind of bounce ideas off of, bounce commentary. He's generally a funny guy unless you're asking him to find toys for you. Then it's kind of like sometimes he's funny, sometimes he's dangerous. But let's put your hands together and give a warm welcome for Mr. Aaron Sparrow. There you are. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, let's get dangerous.
You look comfortable.
I am very comfortable right now. I've decided to do the show from the couch instead of.
Well, that's you got a flower behind you, which is kind of adds a little color.
Little splash, nice bromeliad there. That's my bromeliad.
Yeah, well, it's picking a little of the reds picking up on your face. It kind of gives you rosy cheeks. I'm feeling a little jaundice here, but I have orange and yellow lights on me, and that may be why I'm feeling like maybe I have liver disease or something. But hopefully that's just the lighting.
I'm a little shadowed, but it's because I'm just going with all natural light right now.
Well, yeah, but going natural is in a lot of ways can be good, depending on what we're talking about, of course. But anyway, well, I'm just addressing the chat, Aaron. Let me get through this, and then we'll get to you and some of the features we have on this show that make it so doggone entertaining that people have to watch every Sunday.
Yeah, I love the chat.
Well, let's say hello. Why, there you are. Look at that. Fill the kids' rooms with toys and comics. That's I like that. I think that's a good idea. Tarks9, all the way from Canada, is here. Zaid Comics, of course, that is Phil Diaz. Phil is launching a new project as well, or just has launched a new project with a spicy new Simon Bisley cover. He'll be joining us next week to discuss that and show pictures. So that should be fun. Moromi is here, even though he says hi to someone in the chat before he says hi to me. Wow. I think here, let me help you. It'll kind of this may help you realize how the order of things go around here. Okay, so you want to say hi to me first because it's actually my show. So anyway,
with the clips and the 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 sound effects and everything, I'm really impressed.
They call me a boomer, Aaron, but I am technically savvy, at least enough to pull this off.
Aren't you technically Gen X?
What's that?
Aren't you technically Gen X?
Shockingly enough, you would think, but they consider early 60s babies still like the tail end of the boomer generation.
Oh, see, I didn't think that you were. I thought you were younger than that. So that's surprising to me.
Yeah, 1964. Spider-Man came out in January of 1963. I was born in January 1964. I don't know what that means, but there it is. I'm laying it out there. I just aged myself, but anyway, thanks, Aaron. Aaron, of course, is considerably younger than I am, so that's kind of his subversive way of rubbing it in. SDA is here. Unhinged is still here. Geek Avenger is still here. Aaron Lopresti equals diva. What the? I don't have to put up with that crap.
Is this like an EVS chat where everyone just shows up to roast you the whole time?
Yeah, pretty much. Get used to it. I mean, if you're here too long, they'll turn on you. I had my daughter co-hosted a few months ago. Well, a few months ago, and they turned on her, and she's like, "I'm never going on that show again." I'm like, going, Samantha, come on, it's the internet. Have a little, roll with it, baby, roll with it.
You gotta take some ribbing.
I am the terror that flaps in the night. I don't know what that means, and I don't know that I want to know what that means.
That's a Darkwing reference.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Darkwing, he says, I am the terror that flaps in the night. And then he usually has like a second line that is, like, I am the broken bathroom, or the broken lock on the bathroom stall of villainy. I am Darkwing. That's his whole shtick. My apologies to Jim Cummings for my poor impression. But
well, did you use any of that shtick in the comics when you were writing them, or did they steal that from you?
And then I would always try to. I would challenge myself to try to come up with different ones when I would sign people's books. So
I see. Look at this. This is terrible. Double the air and still the same amount of hair. I mean, that's just horrible.
That's fair, though.
I know it's true. I can't blow anybody up for actually speaking truth.
When we met in, I believe it was 1993 when we met. We both had full heads of hair, as I recall. Did. Just luscious Fabio manes.
That's right. And our lives it was all in front of us, Oh, well, here we are. Here we are like 30 years later. Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it? I actually knew you before I knew Shelley.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Because you came to the shows at the old convention center, right? In
Mhm.
San Diego.
Yeah.
That was pre-Shelley. I don't think Shelley showed up till the second or third con. Like 92, I think was her first con. And we were like, back in the old building in 89 and 90 and stuff.
No, I think I met you. You were working on Sludge at the time.
Dude, I swear you were at the old building. Weren't you in the old convention center?
Yeah, but I don't know. Because I remember I was walking down an aisle. My little brother and I were walking down the aisle, and I stopped. There was a bunch of Sludge pages on the table, and I stopped and I said, "Oh my gosh, this is Aaron Lopresti artwork." And then I looked up and you went, "Well, I should hope so. I'm Aaron Lopresti."
Well, then if I had
was like,
Sludge pages,
"Oh,"
that
you know.
that sounds like something clever I would have said. Actually, I do remember that now that you mentioned that line. I remember that. So yeah, that would have been 93. So actually, okay, I met you 2 years after I met Shelley. So you're post Shelley. John Smith is pre Shelley. So.
Yes. John Smith is a good friend of both of ours who we met through Comic-Con.
Well, Aaron, one thing people tell me all the time is, whatever you do, they say don't eat on stream, and that's why I do this.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And I eat on stream. That's probably, I shouldn't be doing that, but there's kids watching. But I'm on one of those protein diets, and I've lost 12 to 13 pounds. But I never thought I'd say this, but I'm getting sick of meat and cheese. So here I am eating another cheese stick.
I just started kind of the same thing. I'm trying to just like slim down and just have more like lean muscle. So it's good so far. But no, I had that the other day where I was like, I'd really like a salad. And then I was like, what's happening to me? what have I become?
And low-cal dressing. You're like, did I just come out of my mouth? Did I just say that? No, see, that's the thing.
You
get a salad.
Chat, it's all, you can eat whatever you want and not gain any weight. It's like, let me tell you, it's no fun getting older. You got to eat fiber.
I know. You used to mock prunes, and now they're your friend. It's like,
yeah.
Come on. What's
you
going on?
People, the poo just flows out of you.
Brian Suddenly Old says, Aaron, he's referring to you. You, not me. Aaron, your new character looks better than Darkwing Duck. I like
thank
your
you
new
so
character.
much.
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that in a minute. But I want to marinate the pot a little bit before we get to the big reveal there and have dessert. So that was I'm going to write that down. Bruce Jackstone says, this for Aaron Sparrow. Any chance that Bonkers would make a comeback as a comic series with Bonkers D. Bobcat and Miranda Wright team up with Misadventure Cases having a bit of 20th century, first century makeover? Wow, that is that's an in-depth question. What can you tell us about that, Sparrow?
Bruce is a big Bonkers fan. He talks to me on Twitter every now and then. I'm not sure because as you may have noticed, Dynamite does not have any interest in talking to me about Disney properties. They've decided to go a different way. So that's why James and I aren't currently working on Darkwing Duck, and that's why we're probably just going to put out our stuff for free as a fan comic. So that you guys can see where the story was going. But as far as Bonkers has always kind of been like the redheaded stepchild of the Disney afternoon. There was, we made a lot of references to it in the comics as kind of a joke. Like, there'd always be the one guy in a crowd of protesters that would have a sign that would say like "Bring back Bonkers," and it was like kind of like our little in joke. And then if we really wanted to be mean to something, we would mention Quack Pack because neither James nor I were big fans of that show. But I don't know. It's all up to Disney. All these IPs are locked in a vault, and I can't really say what they might or might not do because I'm not on the inside.
That there's truth. Someone where was it? Someone wanted to know if there was going to be, there it is, JW, is there going to be a Darkwing Duck and Wraith crossover? If it was just me and Aaron, I'd do it. But since it's Aaron and Disney, yeah, even if they wanted to do it, I wouldn't do it. That's just how I feel about Disney these days. So, now wait a minute. I always liked the Mighty Ducks cartoon too, kind of a redheaded stepchild cartoon as well. Now that was, weren't they like, that was like the Mighty Ducks was like they were like a hockey team, right? I mean, I know they are a hockey team in Anaheim, but there was somehow, did Disney actually own the hockey team? And that's why they doing the cartoon, was kind of like to promote the franchise.
Yeah, exactly. They did a cartoon. It was, it was Ducks in Space. It was a really cool cartoon. It had characters like Duke L'Orange, and which is fun. And then Wild Wing, who like had a cool like hockey mask, kind of. He was the big mysterious, kind of hero. We had actually planned to kind of reintroduce the Mighty Ducks if Disney had allowed it in the Darkwing Duck series that we were doing for Joe Books. That was like in like issue like 20 in the issue 20s if we would have got there. Because we had worked out like 4 years worth of stories originally, because they had told us that we were going to have a run like that before they pulled the rug out from under us and said, we're going to put this money into Pirates of the Caribbean comics instead. That's where the money is. So there was definitely a plan to do that. And now if we're going to do fan comics that, and bring those to you, there's nothing stopping us, because we don't need to get approval on anything. We can just put it out there.
That's true. You can be like John Byrne doing his his fan fiction X-Men stuff, right?
That's exactly what inspired us to do it. It was like, we live in a world now where you don't need permission for these big from these big corporations and the many cogs in the wheel. You can just do something fun, direct for the fans. And the fans have been great to us. Part of the reason that I'm able to come on these shows and go out and do all the stuff that I do and have fun talking about comics is because the fans have always supported James Silvani and I in our endeavors. So we want to give something back.
Well, that is a beautiful sentiment. That sounded sarcastic, but I didn't mean it to. Well, that's a beautiful sentiment, No, I mean, it is. That's really cool.
That you guys while to get used to your humor, because sometimes I didn't know if you, especially when I was just like this wide-eyed kid who was like, "Oh, Mr. Lepresti, I love your artwork so much. You drew a Forbush man." When I was
like, great, thanks.
A waif with a little street moppet with fingerless gloves. It took me a little while to realize whether you were you were just breaking my balls or not. But I love it. I love the sarcasm. And
all right. Well, I mean, I didn't mean it. It sounded sarcastic. It was kind of like Bill Murray. You never know if he's like being serious or not. And I was like, that really sounded sarcastic, and I didn't mean it to. Well, that's just part of my makeup, I guess. But hey, now you're a guy who you have an appreciation for Bernie Wrightson, don't you?
I do.
Okay.
Love Bernie stuff.
Well, we have a little short segment we do on this show called it's our Wrightson Image of the Day. And we've been doing it for 77 shows now in a row. And so let me take a moment to show you and everyone else our Wrightson Image of the Day. Now, this was the last, in my professional opinion, Aaron, the last year of great Wrightson was 1980. And he did a Captain Stern story for Heavy Metal, the June 1980 issue, if you're looking for it. And then, of course, they used that story in the Heavy Metal movie, which I'm sure you've seen. You would nod your head and say, yes.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm yes.
Somebody elbow him. Wake him up.
No, I was waiting for you to follow it up.
No. I was just waiting for some acknowledge that you were actually listening to anything I was saying.
Heavy Metal, yes.
Thank you. So, but they also had at that period of time, Heavy Metal was selling this T-shirt that had that Captain Stern being chased by Hanover Fist on it, and then on the back of the shirt it was them running away from you, basically the back side of the image. And so I bought that t-shirt, really crappy material, but I never wore it, and it's still hanging in my closet today. How about that? So a total collector's item from 1980. It had a great image, and I still own that today. So I
Well,
thought,
there's so much Wrightson influence on your work, and that's something that that like drew me to it. Especially like with Sludge. Obviously, when I mentioned Four Bushman, when I first met you, you started laughing and you were like, "I can't believe you read that." Like like nobody ever references that. And I was like, "Yeah, no, I like Four Bushman." And then when I saw you were drawing Sludge, I was like, "I got to get this book." And I was super into the Ultraverse at the time, especially when you introduced Lord Pumpkin, who is just a fantastic character that is just locked up forever in a vault. And
I know, it's so sad.
Just just sell it back to you.
Well, but who's to say that I may not rip the character off in another book? You just never know what might happen. So we'll see how close they're actually watching. But spoiler alert. No. The funny thing about whatever we were just talking about, because it just went out of my head. But
T-shirt.
That's right, the t-shirt. So let's pull this car back on the highway. And where were we going? No, it's funny. So we've done like 77 episodes or little vignette things of the Wrightson stuff. And which is, if you do one a week for, forever, that's like, that's a year and a half, right? Of coming up with new Wrightson images that I haven't shown before. And it's getting harder and harder because I only will pick between 1972 and 1980 because those are the best Wrightson years. But it's funny, that music that plays with that video, whenever I hear that tune, it's like all I can think of is Wrightson now. They're like they're joined at the hip forever in my mind now. And it's funny how music will do that.
You could still pull pages from Batman the Cult. That was pretty great.
Yeah, it was good, but it wasn't great Wrightson. Okay, I see, and people are gonna get mad at me now because I'm saying, I'm not saying, look, at any Wrightson is good Wrightson, but there was like Next World Wrightson, and that was 72 to 80, and that's kind of where that's where I was getting all my influence from back then, is because that's when I was my formative years as an artist, right? So. So those, of course, are my favorite. But there you go. Kevin Thomas is saying, what about Lord Gord? I've had so many people suggest that to me over the years.
That's the name that you told me a long time ago. Like when we were talking about, and you said like, yeah, maybe Lord Gord or something. Like you actually threw that out years ago.
Well, I mean, it's low hanging fruit. No offense, Kevin, but it's right there. Lord Gord. So I was thinking of Squash or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. I'm joking, but. Did you see, being a toy guy, this just came up on Instagram. Somebody had a picture of, there's a Headless Horseman toy. Yeah. And they had done one last year, but it's like with two different pumpkin heads, but the pumpkin heads have green flame coming out of them.
Yeah, it's the Four Horsemen Studios. I actually deal with them all the time. Jesse Snyder and I, we got Greg Weisman, the very first comic book that they put out with their first Kickstarter. We all worked on that. And so I'm a big Four Horsemen Studios fan, and they do this line called Figure Obscura. And so they bring you creatures like the Krampus, and now they did the Headless Horseman. They did Father Christmas, which was fantastic. It's actually sitting over there because I haven't taken down all of my Christmas decorations, as people who've seen me on Thinking Critical will attest, because they're asking. It's like February, and my Christmas tree's still up, and they're going like, "Was this video recorded in December? What's going on?" So they did the Headless Horseman, and that was a send away. And now they're doing a retailer only wave, and they've changed kind of like the outfit. It's got more of a purple to it, and the all of the things that were orange flame before are now like green spectral flame. So yeah, it's very very Lord Pumpkin-esque.
What's the name of the company again?
Four Horsemen.
Four Horsemen. I'm going to pull something up here because I kept thinking we're talking about this, but I'm not sharing it with the audience. Let's see, probably toys, huh? Bring it up.
Yeah, so they started out, just a little bit of history on them. They started out as sculptors for McFarlane in the 90s. And it was Eric Cornboy Mays, Eric Treadway, Jim, whose last name I can't pronounce, so I'm not going to try and butcher it. But you know, they were all working for McFarlane, and one time I was talking to Eric Treadway, and he joked, and he said, "I just woke up one day." I was like, "What made you guys decide to leave?" And he goes, "I just woke up one day, and I was like, I can't sculpt another severed head. I just can't do it," because they were doing like all this fun toys. You know, so they had other ambitions, and they eventually went out on their own. And they did a couple of, you know, like crowdfunded, you know, they did a couple of figure lines. They would release some things every year while they were working for Mattel. They did the really nice He-Man 2000 designs. If you guys have seen the He-Man 2000 cartoon, you know, just some fantastic designs of the characters. Yes.
Yeah.
This
so
is actually, they're actually my favorite figure line. They do Mythic Legions and Cosmic. They just launched Cosmic Legions, and the first wave of those is about to drop, which is like, you know, their space kind of, you know, intergalactic Star Wars, you know, sci-fi fantasy type stuff. And their stuff, I absolutely love it. It's all modular. So every it's made with this system called the Glyos system. So you can pop out all of the pieces and rearrange them and mix and match them. And so the customizer community loves this line because you can just make your own characters with the existing parts. There's guys like me that 3D print, you know, 3D sculpt and print parts that you can use with it. Actually, I have a Lord Pumpkin. You didn't buy that one from that guy on eBay, right? Because I've got one in progress for you. Because I did a Lord Pumpkin.
No, I didn't. Because I think it was gone before I even saw it. I mean, you know, it was like after the fact. But yeah, you're working on a Lord Pumpkin, boy. I want to see that. So now, you said you said Krampus too. They did a Krampus. I want to see that. Yeah,
they did a Krampus. Two versions of it. They did a red and a blue.
Oh, this kind of freaky guy here.
Mm-hmm.
That's too scary. I can't bring
look up their Father Christmas. They did a really great Santa Claus.
Okay, that interested me as well. So are all these like limited edition? I mean, I don't mean you to be here pimping for them, but you know, you're a toy guy, so I want to talk toys a little bit.
Oh, I'll pimp for them all day. I love these guys. They're really great guys too, and it's a great. It's really the best collector community that exists. The fans are so enthusiastic, and there's, you know, they have their own convention every year called Legion's Con that takes place in New Jersey. I was just there this last year, and the community is really tight knit, and everybody's making stuff to complement the figures, and it's just really an interesting line. And then the Mythic Legions are all like kind of like medieval fantasy, like Dungeons and Dragons type characters, and then the Cosmic Legions, like I said, are sci-fi. So
are these limited edition? Or they're not mass producing these? Like, you're not seeing that, you won't see these in, you know, Target or anything. So it's like, are these direct sales? How do they do
it's all
this?
Specialty retailers. You know, I get some from Mighty Pins in Anaheim, California. That's a really great collectible store down there, and you know, you can find me in their booth on Wednesdays and Saturdays if you go to the Frank and Son Collectible Show. So they're an approved retailer for it, you know, and you can find them on some of the big online retailers. So you get them at a decent price. But the aftermarket on these things goes crazy once they sell out. You know, new people are coming in all the time and wanting to collect. It's really growing. So some of the older figures are getting expensive, but fortunately the Horsemen do they do this thing a couple times. That's called All Stars, where they'll have a fan voting system, and everybody will vote on figures from the past that they want to see re-released. So then they'll release them again, so people that are just new to the collecting hobby can catch up.
Wow. And that's my problem, is I always miss this stuff where I sit there and I think, you know, like the Headless Horseman figure, I think is like $135 or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm not spending $135 on a toy. And then 2 years from now, it'll be like $500, and I'll go, why didn't I get that for $135? You know,
because I'll get it for you, and then you'll sell it for a for some Silver Age comic that you want when the value.
It's a Golden Age comic, pal. It's a Golden Age comic.
You know what? I have no problem with that. That is absolutely fair.
Well, you know, I had a small bit of guilt because I'd forgotten that you'd got that for me. He's talking about a Dragon Man action figure that was like out of box was worth like $350, right? And I had it sitting on the shelf, and I found out somehow it was worth a fortune. And I was trying to scrape together enough money to buy this $3,500 Golden Age book. And so I sold it. And then Sparrow was like, hey, I gave that to you. And I went, oh, wait a minute. That was you, wasn't it? I still have the Man-Thing figure you gave me. So, you know.
Oh, very good. Actually, I've got a new one that I have to get.
I keep all the ones that aren't worth anything, you know. Oh my
You know what?
goodness.
They'll make a new Dragon Man figure, and it'll probably be even better. It'll be bigger. It'll be deluxe.
Exactly. Brian Suddenly Old says they do 2,000 to 5,000 piece runs, which I guess that's relatively small for toys, right? I mean, I don't really know. I'm not into the toy market like you are, but that seems like a lot if you're talking comic books. But then, as for toys though, that may not be very much, right? So it probably doesn't take them long to sell out of that stuff.
No, not really. I mean, it might be more now because, like I said, more and more retailers are jumping on board. More and more collectors are getting into the line. So it might, I don't know what their internal numbers are. That's not something I've ever asked them. Actually, I would never ask them that because that's all proprietary information that
Right.
they don't need to share with me. But yeah, it's a fantastic line, and Aaron's cranky.
I thought Kevin was my friend, but apparently he's not. And the one thing with me is, Aaron, I'm like an elephant. I never forget. You don't want to make enemies with me.
No, I know you won't let that Star Trek phaser thing go.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that later. Angela says, so no, Aaron and Shelley at 5. No, I'm starting at 4 because, to be perfectly honest with you, Ethan Van Sciver keeps streaming around like 6 o'clock every Sunday, and it goes over the top of my show, and I look up and I lose half my audience every Sunday. And I'm like, that son of a, so I'm trying to beat the system. I'm going at 4 now to see if I can avoid him stealing half my audience. We shall see if it works.
He'll probably pull you in like, hey, let's go. Come on in.
Well, I mean, I could go on his show, but I want to be on my show, Aaron. This is about me. This is all about me. Oh my goodness. Anyway,
speaking of toys that I regret not buying, I didn't jump in on Ethan's Cyberfrog figures, and I greatly regret it because they turned out really nice. And being an action figure guy, I would just love to have those.
Aren't any of those still open though? Can't you kind of get in there and get one?
Can I? I'll research it after this.
You go check it out because I got his. I didn't get the original ones, but he came out with the light blue electric variant or whatever it was, and I got that because I thought it was cool. My son did buy the original because he's a bit of a collector, Josh, and so he jumped in on those. But I did get the blue one because I thought it just looked cool. But I think you might still be able to get on that. So I would go over to Indiegogo and see if you can see if there's still a chance to grab one of those, because I got a feeling that's those are going to be highly collectible, would be my guess. Mm-hmm. But let's move the show along because Aaron's got stuff he wants to tell us. But before he can tell us, we got to talk more about me. So let's do this little feature that you like comic books, don't you, Aaron?
I do. As a just a weird aside.
Okay, well let's take a look at this. That intro is not short enough. I'm always turning around over here, and then it's over, and I'm like,
half a sandwich in your mouth.
Yeah, exactly. I go, wait a minute. I thought that was 30 seconds long, not 10 seconds long. So I've been going through my collection, just pulling out some highlights to, share with the folks. And we're going to do that right now. I got to switch cameras over to my brand new Razor Kaio. So you can't see me, but you can see my table. Now, we did the A's. Got through Avengers and stuff. And I'm not showing every single comic, but here's a few goodies here from Batman. Now, me being a big Neil Adams fan, as I am, a lot of times Neil didn't do anything on the inside, but he did some fantastic covers. That is the case here. This is Batman 221. Always loved that. Him up on that gargoyle looking down, people with torches saying, "Seek Batman out, my pets, and destroy him." So, great Neil Adams, Batman on the gargoyle. And the great thing about Neil was he always picked an angle you wouldn't expect, right? Yeah. So we're looking back over Batman's shoulder down on the ground, and you wouldn't expect that. And yet it's incredibly cool. Let me go full screen with these comics just for a minute, Aaron, but you'll still be talking to us. So there you can see that a little bit better. This, of course, is a near mint book because, well, that's pretty much all I buy. Now this is kind of fun because this is Batman 222. This is the sort of the Beatles crossover. Here they come. One of them is dead, but which one? The
It's
clue
Paul.
is on their album cover. See? It's Paul. Didn't have any shoes on. That means he's dead. And he's the only one still alive, which is amazing if you think about it. Well, I guess Ringo's still with us, isn't he?
Well, remember, he got replaced.
That's true.
That's the conspiracy theory, that Paul died and was replaced.
Oh, I see. So it's like it's like the movie Dave, where the guy came in and pretended to be the president, and after the president died, that was who was in that? Was
Much like the current guys pretending to be a president. Oh my gosh! Oh, got him.
That's more of a zombie type film, though. Old Joe kicking around.
Oh, I love this cover.
Now, this is the Neil Adams recreation of Batman 33 from the Golden Age, one of the great covers of all time. And this is worth a ton just because it's a recreation of that classic cover. So again, it's Neil. Those are pretty much, I got a couple Kaluta covers and Wrightson covers of Batman, but mainly I go for the Neil Adams ones. And that is issue 227. It's not near mint, but it's close to a VF, so it's still a nice condition.
We did a bit of an homage to that cover on one of the Darkwing issues from Boom Studios.
I would guess that one, along with the Spider-Man, the McFarlane Spider-Man cover, maybe two of the biggest homaged covers in the history of comics. But they're so great, it's kind of like everybody kind of wants to do their own version.
This is one that we wanted to homage during our Joe Books run, but Joe Books didn't believe in doing any variant covers, so we didn't get to do it.
Now, this is the first Silver Age appearance of Two-Face, so it is significant. This is 234. It's a king-sized issue. It's bigger, and it's better, and it's only 25 cents, Aaron.
Oh, my gosh. Is that what you paid?
Yeah. No, well, I wish. No. I did get it like 20 years ago, so I didn't spend an arm and a leg on it, which it's worth now. And I'm pretty sure Neil did the inside on this. I'd have to go back and check, but pretty darn sure Neil actually did the cover and the inside. So, and then this is such a classically great cover. The Grim Reaper there. It looks like Robin's about had it, but no, he survives. Spoiler. And this has Neil Adams on the inside too. And he actually draws Len Wein, Bernie Wrightson, maybe Archie Goodwin. They're like at a carnival or a circus, all three of them, and they're in the and actually appear in this story, which is kind of fun. So there you go. There's a look behind the scenes into my collection, and there's my table, which is not all that entertaining. So let's get back to my face, which is probably less entertaining, and then we'll bring Aaron on so we can double the least amount of entertainment possible. So here we are.
Man, I have a face for radio.
That's right. Yeah, you and me both, brother. But remember when we used to have those styling Goldie? Oh, now, all right. What is this? That's Dead Man, obviously, but I'm going to full screen you now. What are you throwing up here? What is that?
This is McFarlane's new Dead Man figure. It's a Target exclusive that I tracked down. Yeah, it's pretty big. Todd does like 7-inch scale. Which I kind of hate because everything else is 6-inch scale, but Todd, he's always got to go his own way.
Right.
But still, by the way, I'm sorry. It's like a racetrack, like out on the street today. Like, I don't know if you guys are picking that up, but like, there's like,
I'm not hearing
jets
anything.
over
So
and
you're
like
good.
dog fighting and God knows what. But yeah, so I got this since we're showing off stuff that we got. This is like some stuff I picked up this week. So that's a really nice Dead Man that I dig.
Yeah.
I picked up this kind of like Todd McFarlane redesign of Captain Cold.
That's Captain Cold?
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, I don't know who I think it's just from one issue of The Flash that they did, but he got a redesign and Heatwave got a redesign. So it's like really kind of interesting. I kind of dug it just for its own thing, not necessarily as Captain Cold, but just as a figure. And then I also picked up Godspeed this week.
I assume that's a Flash villain.
Yes.
I'm so out of it.
Yeah, I didn't read the story. Because I don't read a lot of modern comics because a lot of
you
modern
and me
comics
both.
aren't good. But actually, Jeremy Adams' run on the Flash right now is pretty damn good. It's like the one shining bright spot at DC at the moment.
Oh, cool. Stippling Vaughn says the campaign is still live for the action figures, Aaron. So there you go. You can still get your Cyber Frog action figure.
All right. Thanks for the heads
Uh,
up. I will go do
yeah.
that.
Let's see here.
Just don't tell the horsemen that I'm cheating on them.
Yeah. That's good. I like that. You made me laugh. Okay, so let me. That was a really rough transition, but there's a couple things I want to do before. Well, actually, I'll tell you what. We can move back and forth. We have flexibility on this show. This is like the Carol Burnett show used to be. It's just a variety show. It's entertainment coming at you from all different directions. So now, Aaron, let's do a little bit of interview here, and then we'll go into your project, and then we'll bounce around and do some other things as well. But so you're actually guest co-host tonight. Is that, I just want you to know you're not getting paid anything, but you're getting twice the work. I just want you to know that. So you've had editorial experience, of course, at Boom and other places. You've worked in the toy industry. You've worked in the comic industry. You were a writer for Darkwing Duck. You've bounced around, done a lot of things. You're a man of many hats, and yet I'm the one wearing the hat. Speaking of which, these Empire Comics hats and Wraith of God stocking caps are available now on my campaign page for Wraith of God Blood Hunters. You'll find the link in the description of this video. So anyway,
I didn't buy one of those.
You lousy. They were sitting on my table too at the con where you were at. So anyway, you're a guy of, great comic experience, but now you're venturing forth with your own property. Am I not mistaken in knowing? I mean, that is correct, right?
Yeah.
Tell us, can I bring up some visuals? Would you like to set it up and then I'll bring up the visuals? How do you want to do it?
Okay, I'll set it up a little bit.
Okay.
First of all, in my industry experience, the rug gets pulled out from under you all of the time. So you'll be working on something, there'll be a commitment to it. And then all of a sudden things will change and, someone will get cold feet or someone will make a different decision. An editor will get fired or leave. And then you've got to start over. So when people ask you, how do you break into the comic book industry? I say you always have to be breaking into the comic industry.
That's so true. It's absolutely
always
true.
Changing. And I'm kind of tired of it. I'm kind of tired of being told no. I'm kind of tired of good ideas, going by the wayside. And I decided that, you know what? I want to tell my own stories. I want to do my own thing. I want to be able to make jokes and not have them nerfed because someone's like afraid of, oh, I don't know what, our focus groups and, I'm done with that. And so I decided, what if I told a story about two heroes that are coming to the crime-ridden, filthy, disgusting city of San Francisco. And they desperately want to do good, but the overall conceit of the book is, what if breaking into the superhero business was like trying to break into the comic book business, and you face the same obstacles and the same bad ideas and the same bad actors, but in a superhero setting. So that's kind of the overall conceit. And then the secondary story is that there is a villain who was banished decades ago, locked away in another dimension, and he finds himself brought back into this world, and so he wants to restart his empire and go after all of his goals, but he's finding the world very different than the world he left. So there's a lot of comedy inherent in there. Like for example, there's when he first appears, it's a very like Ghost Hunters type show. And they're in the sanctum of the supreme sorcerer who unfortunately died of testicular cancer. But he's one of the ones who helped banish this villain Doomface, and he's called Doomface because he is the face of your doom.
Now, is that the guy that has the close up with the fist? That would be Doomface.
Yes. And
Can I bring him up?
Yeah, let's bring him up.
Okay, so here's Doomface. Now I have to say, I actually. I like the artwork on this. I think, who's your artist on this?
So this is drawn by Renzo Rodriguez.
Yeah,
he's done a bunch of stuff. He's done some Death Rage for me over at Merck Publishing. He is, he's worked with your boy Zach on what's the book called? He's worked with Chuck Dixon. They did a sci-fi sci-fi book that I'm totally blanking on right now. But you know, he's just a really fantastic artist, and he's so like passionate about the business. And he actually reached out to me because he saw me on Thinking Critical, and he was like, "Oh, I really like that video that you did," and we just got to talking, and found that we really hit it off. So this design, the overall design of Doomface, I sent a bunch of reference about a year and a half ago to Timothy Lim. And he compiled it all, and he kind of put his spin on it, and he sent me back a design. So this is Renzo's interpretation of that design. And so this is Doomface. He's a very Dr. Doom slash. There's some influence, if you guys remember the Ghostbusters cartoon, not the real Ghostbusters based on the movies, but the one with the gorilla. There was a villain on that cartoon called Primeval. He's got a little bit of that in him. He's got a little bit of Hordak, a little bit of Skeletor. You know, all the great like kind of like 80s kind of villains. You know, all packed into one. And so he's now come back. He comes back, and he kills this Ghost Hunters type host, and you know, who tries to take his shirt off and fight him, because if you guys have ever seen Ghost Hunters, Zach Baggins always takes his shirt off whenever he can and just goes total douche bro. So he eliminates that guy, and then the producer of the show, who's been very beleaguered working for this YouTube type guy, he starts questioning her about the different things that are, how long have I been gone? What has changed? And so she's giving him like the overview. She's like, we had our first black president. And he's like, really? That must have greatly improved race relations. And she's like, yeah, you would think.
No, not really.
So like, there's a lot of like little bits like that at the beginning, but he basically decides he's going to go off and he's going to, reestablish his empire. And she says to him, well, you just killed my boss. What am I supposed to do? I'm out of a job. And he says to her, well, come with me. I need someone to help guide me through this new time. So he pulls this girl, Lexi, into his world. So her story is actually her kind of like trying to acclimate herself from being a TV producer to the supervillain world and all of the little petty rivalries and things like that exist within that. So there's an A story and there's a B story, and eventually they will converge.
Okay, now wait a minute. Is this is that the girl here with the like the pointy crown thing?
Yes. Yeah, that's
okay,
Lexi.
All right, so we'll bring her up so we can see who you're speaking of. There she is. So that's the character then that joins
Doomface, yes.
Doomface. And so they're kind of are they the focus of this book, being the villains, but sort of, or do you have the heroes are more the focus of this, which we'll get to in a minute?
It's a little bit of a split. They started out just being the villains and being less a part of it. But the more I kind of like worked around with them, I was like, this book is kind of like it's kind of split down the middle. So I decided to divide their stories up. They'll run concurrently, and then eventually the stories will converge, because the main hero, the secondary hero's father, is the super soldier that helped the Supreme Sorcerer put Doomface, banish him in the first place. So they've kind of got like a date with destiny.
So really, this is sort of a action adventure comedy sort of. Would that be
so the two biggest influences, if you guys like my Darkwing Duck work, this is going to be very it's going to be edgier. It's going to be a little bit more adult, and I don't mean that in the bow kind of way. I just mean that in the humor will be a little bit more mature.
Chicken down.
Yeah, so there's the model sheet for Doomface. You see him without his hood there, and kind of some facial studies that Renzo did. He's going to be a lot of fun because he's very much an old school villain.
Right. I love this character.
Yeah, she's very much informing him about the way things are in the world, and he's just not having any of it. So that's the nice little conflict between the two of them.
That's great. Repairl Man Jack MB Bonner says, I'm always here. Can I get a cannonball? You got to earn it. And I'm not like inviting you guys to be rude to me, but I just don't give out cannonballs for, nothing. You've got to, I've got to feel properly insulted. Again, I'm not encouraging that kind of behavior, but so watch your language. But
I mean, you kind of are, though. You have to really to get a cannonball.
Well, the thing is here about this character, when you said it kind of like all these sort of 80s villains rolled into one, it kind of has that sort of, and that's the reason I like it, is because it has a familiarity to it, but it also has a newness to it, right? So you're like, you feel like you know this character before you've even met him, but yet it's all brand new stuff. Because this could be, sort of has a He-Man vibe or Skeletor type vibe, a Doctor Doom type vibe. I mean, there's different things going on here that make this really sort of an appealing looking character.
Yeah, it's and the shoulder pads, the knee pads, they're animated, so they react to him. Sometimes they're on board with what he's saying. So if he's ranting
funny.
and they're angry, they'll be angry. If he's saying something ridiculous, the shoulder pads might be rolling their eyes while he's doing it. So
That's funny. I like that.
Yeah, a lot of visual fun with him.
Okay, now who is this dude here? Let's bring him up. Boom, there you go. Who do we got here?
Okay, this is Spam, aka Kid Notorious. He is one of the two heroes that's coming to the big city to try and make a name for themselves, and running into all sorts of problems, mostly from the other superheroes that are kind of gatekeeping the industry. So his father is actually Agent Silverstreak, the super soldier who helped who helped banish Doomface to begin with. So he's got a little bit of super soldier serum in his blood. And hey, Art Taber!
Artemis Taber has joined us. The Ancient One has joined us. Thank you, Art, for tuning in.
And then and I was like, let's get together, let's have dinner, and blah blah blah. And we were kind of like we're talking about doing it. And then he got smart and he moved to Texas. He got the hell out of California.
And you're still in California, you fool.
I'm still in California, but I'm hoping he'll send somebody back for me.
Oh, hang on a second here. We'll get right back to this. But Stippling Vaughn says, let me show you how it's done. He's referring to the guy that wanted the free cannonball. He says, Aaron, we're tired of the Bernie image of the day. You need to start to read a long segment of Atari Force. That'll do it. If you want to get hurt on this show, that's how. So this is an Atari Force free zone. And that's no offense to Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, whose art I love, but Atari Force, sorry, I just can't do Atari Force. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue as I interrupt.
Now I want you to read Atari Force and do all the voices.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it.
So this, he's got a little bit of super soldier serum in his blood. He's a scrapper. He's a brawler, and a little bit vacuous, a little bit self-absorbed, which pairs him off with his buddy, who is an inflatable iguana. My only anthropomorphic character in this.
We're going to get to him in just a second, but Paul Taylor says, I don't even know what Atari Force is. Thank you, Paul. Paul is our resident biologist. So he's a man with a big brain, and he doesn't know who Atari Force is. So I feel okay about that. Now, this I like. I like this guy too, which will probably be a fan favorite. I can only guess. Now, you said he's a inflatable iguana. Now, how does that work exactly?
That's the thing. I don't ever want to explain it.
Well,
I just wanted to be one of those things where people are like always asking me. They're like, "Wait, so if he's inflatable, he can't weigh that much. So how can he punch a guy and blah blah blah?" I want all those questions out there, but I don't want to answer them.
Well, it's a great looking character, so you're going to get just from the visual of that, and I can see that there's going to be some serious comedy relief here. So,
yeah, this is a James Silvani design, interpreted by Renzo. So this was the first character that I thought James that James drew for me and really nailed. Super excited about this. It's a character that's kind of lived in my head for a while. Actually, Aaron, in my sketchbook, I'll have to scan it and send a picture of. You drew a prototype version of this for me at one point, where I gave you some reference.
Sweet, and, royalty check. Here it comes.
And it's changed since then. But,
okay. No, that'll be. I get a kick out of seeing that. Son of Liberty Radio says, without Shelley, Aaron's shows are boring. See, that's what happens. You start inviting people to insult you, and that's what you get. So sorry, Aaron. It's shameful that I have to resort to these tactics when I have a guest on, but. I got to do what I got to do. Come
on, I'm doing voices. What do I got to do? I got to do I got to tap dance. What do you?
I know. It's just come on.
I mean, I know I'm not Shelley, but come on.
Where's Shelley at? Shelley's so much better than you. I'm just sick of it.
Well, if you watch Clownfish TV too, if you do, I did a video with Neon a while back where his wife wasn't there, Geeky Sparkles, and people in the chat were like, "Where's Geeky? Who's this guy? I don't know him."
I know. They just all the hard work you put in, it just goes right out the window when your co-host doesn't show up. It's like they just we don't care about this stuff, Aaron. Where's Shelley? It's just like, geez, man. So we've got the overview. We've got some of the artwork. when is this? How are you going to launch this? How are you going to do it? When's it going to happen? Give us kind of the preview of what your vision is here.
Okay, so Renzo and I are working hard on it right now. We've got I'm collecting covers right now from different artists that will be debuting slowly as I really kind of like, I wasn't sure that I wanted to get out there with it yet, but when I was talking to you at the show and I was showing you this, you were like, when do you want to launch? And I said, sometime in the summer probably is ideal. And you said, well, you got to start talking about it now. So you convinced me, and I was like, okay, well, I gotta start talking about it now. I gotta start,
get people warmed up and waiting, So this is gonna be like a crowdfunder project. Is that?
Yeah, that's the intent. Is we're gonna crowdfund it. We're gonna, I might do some stuff where Silvani and I, it's like I have a YouTube channel. I haven't really used it in like 2 years. I used to post unboxing videos and things like that. And there's a couple panels of me, like, that I did at shows that we put up, but mostly haven't really done anything with it. And, so we might, James and I might start doing shows on there, talking about the book, getting people hyped for it. We're looking at summer, and we're gonna crowdfund, and hopefully people respond to it. We'll have a lot of pages for it. There's going to be a lot of humor. If you guys like Sam and Max, Freelance Police, or you like the Venture Brothers, or you liked our Darkwing Duck stuff, all of those things are going to kind of like be rolled into it.
That is very exciting. I love that. I like the way it looks. I think this could do really, really well for you. I'm certainly going to be looking forward to it. Now there you go. Art's coming in strong. He's got my back. You guys show Lopresti some respect. Now that's the right way to do it. This is the wrong way to do it. Okay. Aaron is our elder. Show some respect. This whole ageism thing, this is all I can say. So that's kind of like,
what's the, so I see the stick, but what's the carrot? What does Art get for doing it the right way?
Oh, well, sometimes, what I like to do is occasionally, if someone brings it, and you kind of think, wow, that was really nice, or that was really great, we do this. So that goes out to Art to Bear, the standing ovation for, having my back, like the fine, I like to say fine young gentleman, but the fine ancient gentleman that Art is. I do appreciate the fact that he has my back. What is Blue Boy saying here? Aaron reminds me of my oil painting mentor, Legendary Minds. Which one of us do you think? You must be talking about me, because I'm the elder Aaron on this program right now. So he must be referring to me. So I'll take that as a compliment, as a show of respect there. Okay. Anyway, Paul Taylor says, we never ask a woman her age. You're just asking for trouble. Are you saying you're not calling me a woman, are you? I guess Paul would never do that. He must be referring to somebody in the chat, Aaron. He would never misgender me or anything like that. I can't imagine. But anyway, so we can look forward to this in the summer. And as you continue to produce more stuff out there, or throw more stuff out there for people to see, we'll certainly, I sound like I'm ending the show, but I'm not at all. I'm just ending this little moment that we'll be sure to continue to promote this and get it out there, because in all seriousness, I really like the look of it. I think so. Renzo is going to be the artist on the book, right? He's not just doing design work. He's going to be the artist on the book, right?
Yes, he's going to be the artist on the book. Yes.
Yeah. So I really like the way it looks. I think this is going to do really well for you, and we'll keep pumping it up as the time gets closer to the launch, so that we're building some anticipation and people are ready for it. I think that's the best way to do it. I don't think you want to drop it on people or the audience a month before you launch. I think you want to start building. I was talking about Wraith of God a year before I launched it. So, and I think that helps a lot. So then people are just ready to go. See, it just, not that Aaron wouldn't make a handsome woman. Now, I'm not going to blow him up for that, because I don't know, if I shaved, put a wig on, I might be able to,
so, some fake eyelashes, maybe,
yeah, sure.
Your eyes.
Wait a minute. Past Master Dan says, not that, okay, we already did that. Why did I put that up there again? That's what I was trying to say. I'm amazed Aaron is off oxygen so long. Holy crap. This is getting out of control. I try to be there for the people in the chat and the audience. I try to bring them just a semblance of kindness and entertainment. And this is what I get. and people say that I resort to violence but Aaron, it's like Pacino in The Godfather 3, right? It's like I'm trying to get up and they keep pulling me back in. They keep pulling me back in. So anyway, all right. So one of the things we talked about your independent project. Well, a lot of people come up to me and they ask me, they say, Aaron, what's Shelley really like? And then after I explain that to them, they want to know what I'm working on. So we're going to take a moment here to just show a couple pieces of art before we move on in the program. So. Now this is going to result in me actually switching cameras again. So be prepared to see my desk. There it is. I'm going to blow it up just so for bigger visual. So Aaron, don't take offense that I'm.
No, I'm always glad to be off camera.
I'm going. All right. So recently I've been doing these things that I call cool down sketches. Do them at night, to unwind before I go to bed. Here's one of the more recent ones I just did. This is another. I did a Death Dealer about a week ago, and then I just did another one. This one is already sold, but there it is. I wanted to share that with you guys. If you haven't seen it, I posted on social media. I did this on tan paper. So it has like a little mid-tone already built into it. So, and you can see I used a little bit of white on some of these to put some highlights in there just for fun. So that's what I'm doing these days to fill my evenings. But what am I doing to fill my days? Well, Aaron, I have a 100-page project called Wraith of God Blood Hunters. You'll find the link in the description of this video. You'll also find the links to Aaron Sparrow's social media accounts, Twitter and Instagram. If you would like to follow him, you can. You have the links there, or at least the addresses of his social media sites. But we have a Wraith of God story, which is the lead story in the project, and then we have a Garbage Man backup story, right? And if you've read the Garbage Man trade paperback, you're probably chomping at the bit for more Garbage Man. If you haven't, it is available on the campaign, so you might want to check that out as well. So this is the first page. We've seen this color. Dan Lawless is coloring this story for me. So this is the first page. And the second page, Night of the Living Jed is the name of the story. Kind of a play on words there. And so we had the big zombie splash. And those were the 2 pages we showed on the campaign. Well, I'm going to show you the next 3 pages because these are going out to Dan to be colored. And they will show up on the campaign page as well, but in full color. So there's page 3. Let's give this a moment to focus. Come on, focus, baby. There you go. Aaron, I bought a new camera and it's a more expensive camera, and this is the thanks I get.
Those pages are beautiful. Thank you.
A lot of trees and stuff, which is trees and monsters and anything organic, and you're right in my wheelhouse. So anyway,
here's a pro tip for you guys. If you ever bring a sketchbook or get a commission from Aaron at a show, if you give him a monster to draw, he's probably going to throw a little extra mustard on the hot dog.
That's right.
He's going to get that much more effort because he's going to get into it.
That's right. You get next level when you ask for a monster drawing. So we have Garbage Man walking down the hill, and looks like toxic waste canisters that were taken from the Titan Pharmaceutical compound, which if you've read the trade paperback, you'll know what that is. If you haven't, you should probably get the trade paperback. So anyway, then we've got some, and then this, of course, the old man comes out of his house, which is very strange because that's where the zombie apparently was headed. So what's going on inside that guy's house? Well, as I'm revealing 5 pages to you here, you're not going to see any more until after the book is published. So this is it for the preview. But so there's mysterious and strange things going on at this old guy's house. And of course, on page 6, we start to find out what that is. But of course, you'll have to wait till publication to see that. But these will get colored by our good friend Dan Lawless, and they will be up on the campaign page when that happens. So I'm back. And now you have 2 Aarons, because you know what they say, 2 Aarons are better than 1. So anyway, that's kind of some preview art from the Garbage Man story. I'm now moving back to finish Wraith of God, because I took a little bit of a hiatus from Wraith of God story, because it dawned on me. I said, Aaron, I said, this book isn't going to get published till all these stories are done. So does it really matter what order you do them in? No. So I said, I can take a break from Wraith of God and go to Garbage Man, and now I can go back to Wraith of God, finish that up, go back to Garbage Man, then to the Nightclub, then finish up Kit Carter. So there's a lot of work here still to be done, but it's moving along, and I'm very happy with the results, and I can't wait to see what Dan is going to do with the colors. So that's where we're at on that right now, and I wanted to kind of give you guys a little preview of that. Past Master Dan says Aaron is talking to Aaron about talking to Aaron. I
thought kind of the same thing. I was like, what an astute observation. If he starts talking in third person, then it's like there's 3 Aarons here.
Yeah, I know. It's very bizarre. Yeah. Who's coloring Kit Carter? Right now, I am. That is the one. I keep calling them strips, and it's like, that's such an archaic terminology, right? Like newspaper strips or comic book strips. I'm coloring that strip. What are you, 90? Well, closer than I'd like to be. But yeah, I've colored all the Kit Carter stuff up to this point, and I'm thinking about doing a Kit Carter graphic novel next. That I would have someone else color. But in the case of these Kit Carter strips, as I call them, because they're really sort of self-contained Sunday newspaper strip concept. Mm-hmm. And even though they're formatted like comic book pages, not like newspaper strips. And I've done 8 of them so far, and I still have 7 to do to finish up the 15-page segment that's going to go in the book. But I've colored all of them up to this point, so I'm going to continue to color those. And but the other stories, I will have other people coloring, of course.
Here, you know what? Here's my question, just a general crowdfunding question.
Yes.
You said you might do Kit Carter next. Is when you're crowdfunding something, is it a good idea to like shift gears and do something else? I know sometimes creatively that's kind of what you want to do, because you're like, I've been living with this so long, I kind of want to do something different. But like from a crowdfunding perspective, do you want to keep dancing with who brought you? Like, obviously you want to continue Wraith of God, you want to keep that momentum going, or is it good to take a break?
That is an excellent question, and I will find out for better or for worse when I do that. What I think it's a bad idea because if you're doing everything like I am, and most of us are that are doing crowdfunding, right? You're getting a book a year. Maybe if you're lucky, you can, 8 to 10 months, and maybe you can squeeze 2 books campaigns in 1 year. But this being a 100-page book that I'm working on right now, it's going to take up the better part of, it'll probably take me into August at this point, give or take. And so it's like, do you really want to like do another project and then skip Wraith of God and then come back to him, which would then essentially be a year later, or you'd skip a year and then come back. And it's kind of like, how do you approach that? And that's an excellent thing that I've been sort of juggling. The reason I'm doing Wraith of God the way I'm doing it, this 100-page book, which is insanity, for $25, folks. It's a great deal. So get on that link and get there and back the campaign. But it really is.
I've ordered mine.
Thank you. Aaron Sparrow has ordered his. And I won't bring anybody on the show that hasn't ordered. No, I'm kidding. But the reason I did it this way was because I wanted to get some of those other IPs out there, right? Like Garbage Man. And if you've read the original Wraith of God graphic novel, you'll know that there's a tie-in between Wraith of God and the Nightclub, which is the modern superhero team. And I kind of hint at that in the epilogue to Wraith of God graphic novel, which I'm going to be making available in a second printing here in a couple weeks. So if you missed the first one, and we're sold out, of course, of their first printing, but there'll be a second printing with a new cover coming out, so you'll be able to get that soon. But so I wanted to kind of advance the Lopresti verse, if you will, the Empire Comics verse. But I didn't want to do each solo projects, because you're thinking, okay, well, if you did each one of those as a solo project, you're like 4 years down the road, right?
Right.
So I thought the best way to do this was do some short stories, put them in the back as backups to Wraith of God. And that way people get the Wraith of God fix and they get these other IPs that are all part of the same universe. And so that's why I'm doing it this way. But if I were to do a Kit Carter graphic novel, I'm trying to think of ways that I could do that, because a lot of people want the Kit Carter and they've been bugging me for years to do it. So I think it would be fine on its own, but I don't want to neglect Wraith of God because there's more to the story than what we've done so far and what I am doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, do I do a preview ash can? Do something that maybe I can put a few pages in there, roughs, some penciled pages, things like that of the next Wraith of God to kind of keep everybody connected without actually doing the full book on the next campaign. So that is in the back of my mind. It's in the forefront of my mind, keeping all these IPs alive at the same time while essentially doing them one at a time. So it is kind of a juggling act, but that is an excellent question. And like I said, one, I hope I'm making the right decision on, and when I actually come to how it's all going to come together, hopefully make the right decision there on making everything available and still in everybody's mind, even though they may have to wait a little bit longer for the next Wraith of God installment. But nothing's written in stone at this point. I may change my mind in a week. So Daniel Craig, how many more Wraith books do you think there are, Aaron? I think there's 5 total. And those are all, obviously they're not 20-page books. At this page, when the first book is 80 pages, this story is going to be 50. So there's 130 pages. So that's basically, when I get done with this, it's the equivalent of a 6-issue miniseries, right? And all these stories will be, I could do an anthology thing where I did, 20-page stories of 3 different properties, Wraith included, and keep it going that way. But yeah, there's probably 3 more complete Wraith stories that would put us probably at 250 pages worth of material, which is, that's 12 issues of a regular comic. That's a pretty decent run on a book.
Well, if you faced Wraith off with just like kind of the classic universal monster archetypes, you've done werewolves, vampires,
Mm-hmm.
Frankenstein's monster, the mummy, creature from the Black Lagoon.
Love the mummy.
That's 5.
Yeah.
5 creatures you could play with, but there's a ton
there's
more.
endless possibilities, of course, because he's a monster hunter, but you have to kind of weigh that sort of the benefit you got a property that people like, but at some point they're going to get tired of it. It's inevitable, right? Unless it's Spider-Man or something. People are like, okay, well, what else do you got for me? So it's kind of juggling that, you know what I mean? And it's like, if I only had one idea that I really felt confident about, it wouldn't be that hard of a decision, right? You just keep doing it until no one wants to read it anymore. But when you've got multiple things, you're like, I want to bring this in. I want to work this in. I'd kind of like to do this. And like you said earlier, from an artistic or a writing standpoint, you like to get a little bit of variety because it's fun, and it interjects some energy into, what you're doing in the project and stuff. So there's a lot of things to consider, but we'll take it one book at a time and see how it goes. But yeah, I would never just walk away from Wraith of God. There would have to be something in the next campaign, even if it was a 64-page, Kit Carter graphic novel. There would have to be something in there as a supplemental add-on or something that is Wraith of God that would keep the fire going and lead up to the next installment. So even though it might be, 12 months away before I would launch it, it would be, you're still thinking about it because I've set the table a little bit. So, and people are starting to demand Wraith of God, Garbage Man crossover. And that could be part of all this mix as well, too, because I think that would be a lot of fun.
That would be fun.
So anyway, that's what I got going. We know what Aaron Sparrow's got cooking. We know what I got cooking. But you know what else, Aaron? This show is cooking. And I played this game with
Guys,
David
smash
Williams.
that like button, as the kids say.
That's right. Thank you very much. In fact, one of the things I do almost at the beginning of every show, but when Shelley doesn't show up, everything gets just, throws off my schedule, and I just screw
People in the
everything up.
comments are saying, "No, Shelley, this sucks. Unsubscribe."
Yeah, exactly. But I do like to do a public service announcement early in the show, and I'll do that right now. Frankenstein demands that you hit that like and subscribe button. And as we like to say, if you can't do it because you like the quality of the show, do it because you feel sorry for me. But just hit that like and subscribe button, because we need it to help this channel grow, which I don't even know if that's a good thing, but I like the sound of it. So let's do that. Help a brother out, as they say. All right. So Aaron, here's the deal. I played this game with David Williams, and I found it to be very interesting, and I've never returned to it. Now, we don't have a lot of guests on this show. We do it every once in a while and stuff like that, but this is the perfect opportunity, and I think you're the perfect guy. This is more, it's not like you had to study or anything before you came on. It's not like quiz show where I should have given you the answers, so this is just an opinion
That's
thing.
a reference, man.
Yeah, this is just an opinion thing. I want to know your opinion on this. And so we're going to play a game. If I can find the intro, wouldn't it be funny if I neglected to load the intro? That'd be kind of embarrassing.
I love giving my opinion. It's one of the things that's gotten me blacklisted from the industry.
Well, you know what they say, there's no greater authority on my own opinion than me. So here, I do have the intro. So this is what we're going to do right now. This is kind of like it's not really a game show, but I think you'll enjoy it. Now, I know you're more youthful than I am, so 70s wasn't your playground. The 80s probably were. The 80s and 90s were probably more of your playground. But
I went back, though.
But these characters, you'll know these characters. So it's not like I'm throwing stuff at you that you've never heard of. So let's, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this window and open another one while I stall because I didn't get this. Are you kidding me? Where's my little folder at? I swear it was right there, Aaron. This is how not to run a show, and this is why people don't hit the like and subscribe.
This is how you're going to get the boomer comments fired.
That's right. This is how you, right? Oh, you know what he's doing. I do know what I'm doing. I get easily confused.
You're doing better than I would. Like the way you're switching through, you got your little clips set up. I'm stunned and amazed.
There's all sorts of stuff going on here, and I'm just one guy trying to manage all of it. All right, so I'm gonna throw up a screenshot here, and you are going to tell me what you prefer. I mean, it's pretty simple, but then I want you to justify your choice. Okay.
Okay. I can do
so you can't just say, "Oh, I like this." That's my dog barking. Would you pardon me for 1 second, Mike?
Hey guys, how's it going? It's my show now. I've taken over.
That's right. Aaron has taken over from Aaron, and that's the best I can do is close the door.
At the con while you went off to buy a comic book, I took over at your table, and
that's right.
And they threw drinks at me.
Did they say, "Are you Aaron?" And you said, "Well, actually, I am."
I'm an Aaron. Is that
yeah,
okay?
That's right. Not the Aaron. Well, actually, you're the Aaron. Okay. So Conan or King Cole?
I'm gonna go Conan.
Okay.
Because I just always felt that the talent on Conan was higher. I really love those books. I actually bought some of the omnibus that they released recently of all those old classic Conan stories. I mean, I bought the action figure that's modeled after that cover. I'm a Conan guy. I didn't read nearly as much Call the Destroyer, Call the Conqueror, but I will tell you this: I did go see the Call the Conqueror movie at the Dollar Theater, starring Kevin Sorbo.
Yes.
And my friend Tim and I were in there, and it's the Dollar Theater, so it's a little more raucous. It's like a black theater. People are talking, having a good time, just enjoying each other's company. And the movie opens. They have a moment where they say, like, the flame was placed upon the mountaintop to remind the people of the godless times. And every time they do a scene transition back to the villains, they show you that mountain with the flame coming out of it. They're really proud of that shot. Like, they're like, look, we spent the money on the effects. We're going to put it in the movie. So they keep doing it from slightly different angles, sometimes from the same angle. And so my friend Tim and I started doing different variations of saying, what does that flame remind me of? And then, you know, whichever one of us started, the other one would go, the godless times? We're like, oh yeah, the
Godless times.
Man, those were some godless times, weren't they? Until
kind of like now.
Until somebody threw jujubes at us.
Well, I was always a Cole fan because I liked the concept of, and I've said this a million times, and people are probably tired of me going over this, but I like the idea of the barbarian king. You know, where he's sort of barbarian, but he still has a responsibility to his kingdom, and I sort of like that. Where, you know, Conan's just a freebooter. He's a thief. He's, you know, fun adventures and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of like that sense, that weightiness, the responsibility that Cole had to carry around with him. And I also like this Marie Severin pencils inked by John Severin, although the Barry Smith stuff was incredible on Conan as well. And of course, John Buscema later. Okay, so you're a Conan guy. I'm a Cole guy, and that's okay.
I'm a John Severin guy though, and a Marie Severin guy. Like I love their stuff. And even when they were doing like Cracked Magazine, you know,
yes,
and, just such good stuff. And I know that you know, Silvani, who drew Darkwing Duck, you know, worked on Darkwing Duck with me. Huge John Severin fan. And
my dog is moving his mind.
You have him on. He'll talk to you about John Severin all day.
I love John Severin's work. In fact, I would really, really like to get I would love to get a Cole page with the Severin artwork. I'm sorry, my dog is just going freaking ballistic down there, and I need like dog tranquilizers so I can go. I'm going live here. Eat this. You know.
Let me bring this back to Star Trek, which I'm sure you'll appreciate.
Well, I appreciate that.
You like Cull is kind of the reason that I like Deep Space Nine. Because most of Star Trek was, you know, going out and exploring. And when they did Deep Space Nine, it was kind of a centralized station, and they got into kind of like the political intrigue of different factions and things that were there, and you know, Cisco trying to maintain control. As a kid, I really got into that show because of that. So like it's kind of the same thing where it's like you like the whole kingdom aspect where he has to keep all these people in line, you know, even though he's you know, and that's kind of like what I liked about DS9. So I can definitely see the appeal, and maybe I need to go buy a Cull omnibus now. I
think maybe you do. All right, so Darkseid or Thanos?
This is Sophie's choice. I like them both for different reasons. Obviously, you know, Jack Kirby created the Fourth World, and I absolutely love everything that goes along with that. All the weird, like, you know, Granny Goodness is such a weird character. I love the female Furies. I love Darkseid. Just that whole Apocalypse is just fantastic. But I also really love Thanos and his, you know, his love of death and kind of the Infinity Gauntlet and all the stories that spanned out of that. So that's a really tough one. I'm going to go just by the slightest margin with Darkseid because I was very blessed last year to write an episode of DC's Young Justice for HBO Max. You know, for Greg Weisman and Brandon Vietti, and I got to use some of the Fourth World characters. I didn't get to write Darkseid, but I got to write Orion. I got to write Light Ray. I got to write Metron. You know, so
cool.
That's really still like, you know, my heart is still swollen, hopefully with that and not with heart disease from that moment. So yeah, I got to give the edge to Darkseid, but it is just by the slimmest of margins, and maybe only because of Young Justice.
I go with Darkseid too, and it could be just the Kirby thing, but and I do like Thanos quite a bit, but I'm always, you know, if you'd asked me this in the 90s, I probably would have gone Thanos, but I'm much more appreciative of Kirby and his contributions now than I was early in my my life. So I'm going Darkseid as well on this one. So we agree on that. But Aaron, there's more. There's not just.
I said there's got to at least be one more because there's got to be like a tiebreaker, right?
Oh, dude, there's like 10. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
This is a, you know, I got to fill like 2 hours worth of material here. So, you know, it's like, you know. All right. So this goes back a little bit to some monster stuff, but would you go Ghost Rider or Werewolf by Night?
Werewolf by Night has the first appearance of Moon Knight, which is a character I absolutely love. But Jack Russell was never a character that super resonated with me. Whereas I was super into, when I got into comics, I went back and I, started getting I got into comics, and then a few years after I got in, that's when the Ghost Rider series came out from Mark Texeira, with the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. So I started going back and finding like the old Ghost Rider issues with Johnny Blaze, and I've really loved that. There was some weird stuff in there. Jesus shows up at one point.
I know.
It's just like, it was just really like kind of like off the rails kind of stuff that really fires a kid's imagination, and I was like, man, this is comics. So I'm going with Ghost Rider.
All right, I go with Werewolf by Night here because, and I don't really have a great explanation of why, but when I was a kid, I could have bought both these books. I did buy one issue of Ghost Rider, but I always bought Werewolf by Night. So I think there was that kind of, that sort of traveling around, kind of what they did with the whole TV show, where Bill Bixby was always on the road, and it was a different adventure every week because he was always traveling to some small town. And there's kind of the same thing with Jack Russell. He was always on the run, and he was always ending up someplace. And being a Universal monster guy, the werewolf always sort of was one of my favorite characters. And so, although I appreciate the coolness of Ghost Rider, it was always Werewolf by Night that I bought. So I guess I'm going to go with Werewolf by Night. So we're at odds there. We're at odds
Plus,
on that
Werewolf
one. That's
by Night
okay.
was always losing his shirt, and you being a Kirk guy,
That's right. There's
that
it
great
always
Galaxy Quest where
dude, it always comes back to Star Trek. Yeah, exactly. It always comes back to Galaxy Quest, as they say, the greatest Star Trek movie ever. So, all right, now this one's a little more nuanced. What do you think about this? Do you like Luke Cage Hero for Hire, or do you like Luke Cage Power Man?
This is really tough because it's the same character,
but acting differently.
You know what? I didn't really get into Luke Cage until he was Power Man, and he was teaming up with Iron Fist.
Right.
So that speaks to me more. I respect the Hero for Hire, legacy, but I'm definitely more Power Man, and especially when it was Power Man and Iron Fist.
Well, Paul Taylor says he fought Power Man for the name Power Man. Well, I assume he won then. Okay. I love the concept, and I know it sort of makes a superhero that charges for his services, makes him seem kind of not as heroic, but I love that idea that, and apparently not a lot of people did, because they went from Luke Cage Hero for Hire, only lasted 16 issues. Then he became Power Man and quit charging people for his services. But I love the idea that he had an office there in Harlem or whatever. Kind of like the, not the Enforcer, the Equalizer, although the Equalizer never charged either, but you kind of get, they'd walk into his office and they're like, hey, I got this problem, and lay the bucks down to get Luke Cage to go, take care of business for him. And I just thought that was such an interesting way to approach the character, because here's this guy who's been wrongly imprisoned. He escapes or gets out of prison as Power Man. They do the experiment on him, right? And he's this guy who's kind of bitter. Maybe he's not too happy with the old neighborhood and how it turned on him, so to speak. So it's kind of like, and plus, though he addressed the one thing that other characters never do. How do superheroes make their money if no one's paying them to go around fighting crime, and they're doing it 24/7, right?
I respect the hustle,
Yeah, exactly. It's like, dude, you've got superpowers. I can help you. You got a little cash, throw it my way. I'll go, I'll be your enforcer. I don't know. I like that concept.
One of my favorite Spider-Man moments is during a story called The Assassination Plot, where it turns out the Red Skull is the villain. And the Red Skull is just like, oh, Spider-Man, and he offers him this big suitcase filled with cash. And he's like, listen, this doesn't have anything to do with you. You can just take this and you can just walk away. And there's a moment where Spider-Man, he picks up the money and he's holding it. And he's like, this is more money than I've ever seen. And his medical bills are piling up. I'm behind on rent. He's got all those temptations. And it's a very human moment. Now he rejects it, of course, because he's Spider-Man. He's a hero. He throws it back in Red Skull's face and, tells him that, America's got problems, lots of them, but, and but I'm
what he should have done? If it was me, I would have beat the crap out of the Red Skull. I'd said, no, I'm not taking your money. I'd beat the crap out of him, and then I'd take the money. It's like, you can't give it to me. I'm taking it.
That's at the end of Lethal Weapon 2. I always that always bothered me when Riggs says to Murtaugh, take this drug money, take it, do some good with it, put your kids through college, do some good with it, and Murtaugh rejects it. But I was always like, well, I mean, it's drug money. Just
maybe I'll put it to good use.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
you
see.
Didn't sell the drugs. You're just taking the money.
Right. Luffy as God says, now I got the Equalizer theme in my head. Thanks, Aaron. Hey, I do what I can. It's all about this around this show. It's all about old time pop culture, not even modern pop culture. Okay, let's move on to the next choice for you here, Aaron. Morbius the Living Vampire or Brother Voodoo? That you
never
do
read
so
Brother
well.
Voodoo back in the day, so this is an easy one for me. Morbius, because I did read Spider-Man, so I don't think that I don't necessarily think that the stories were better, having gone back and read some Brother Voodoo since then. I don't think Morbius was really I don't think he really carried his own book very well. I definitely liked him more in Spider-Man, but definitely more familiar with him than I've ever been with Brother Voodoo.
I liked him. I liked Morbius as a villain for Spider-Man, but I'm kind of like you. It's kind of like I had no real sort of interest in him as in his own book, but I'm not a big vampire guy. What's that?
Or his own movie.
Yeah, definitely not his own movie. But I do remember, there was this, well, you wouldn't remember this because it was past your time, but you may know it in retrospect. There was a newspaper magazine, but it was a newspaper called the Monster Times. And I used to get that in the 70s, and they would cover stuff like, sci-fi movies and comic books and different things, but it was basically a newspaper. Right. Mm-hmm. And, they had an ad, they would have ad always for monster books, like for like the Spectre or, Ghost Rider or Werewolf by Night, Man Thing, that type of stuff. And then that's where I first saw the Brother Voodoo, and I thought that looks really cool. And so for the cool factor, and maybe it was because this is a Romita cover, but the subsequent covers were Gil Kane covers, much like this Adventure into Fear here is a Gil Kane cover. But the Gil Kane covers for Brother Voodoo were, I thought, exceptional. And that might have been what sort of drew me in. So I'm going to go with Brother Voodoo because he has that voodoo that you do.
If you would have showed me these two covers as a kid, I would have gone with Brother Voodoo. Because Morbius, I don't know, his hair is weird and feathered. He doesn't look that interesting. And Brother Voodoo. Plus, when I was a kid, like voodoo was one of those things that you thought that in your life you would encounter a lot, and you had to be on guard of it. Like quicksand. We all were like, oh, quicksand was like this big threat when we were kids.
Right, exactly.
I've never encountered any quicksand in my life.
I've never encountered any voodoo either, but you never know, right? Okay, here we go. Now, don't let the movies jade you, okay? So pre-Ms. Marvel movie, just the comic book, okay? Ms. Marvel or Nova?
Miss Marvel.
Oh, really?
And here's why. Because sexy midriff, sexy woman, and at the time that I was getting into comics, I had discovered girls, so looking at pretty women was exciting. Later, I came to like really appreciate Nova, especially like some of the stuff with the Sphinx and whatnot, and especially when they introduced him in New Warriors. Although those initial issues, he had a terrible costume redesign. It was so awful. And until they put him back into this, I don't think he really clicked. But yeah, I was reading more Miss Marvel when I first got into comics than I ever did Nova.
The only reason I was younger, I was there when these came out on the newsstand, right? So I was younger when Ms. Marvel came out, and I had no real interest in female superheroes other than if they were part of the Avengers or whatever. Mm-hmm. But John Buscema drew the first 4 issues of this, and so and it was a first issue, so I picked it up and I kind of dug it because Buscema was drawing it. But I, like a dummy, when Nova came out, I grabbed Nova and thought, oh, this is cool, even though it was blatant ripoff of Spider-Man. I mean, it was Richard Rider Peter Parker, high school student, But the one thing that Nova did have going for him is, as you just mentioned, he had some cool villains that they came up with, like Diamond Head, the Sphinx. There was several guys, new characters that we'd never seen before, that I thought had potential to stick around. I don't know if they ever did, but I thought they had potential. And so I liked that idea that he wasn't just, like Ms. Marvel here is fighting the Scorpion, but Nova had like his own rogues gallery. And I liked them. I thought they were actually pretty cool designs for that time. And Kevin Thomas says Nova was Marvel's answer to Green Lantern. Well, I guess that's kind of true.
With the Nova Corps and everything.
Yeah. But this is true. Fritzy Snitch was saying, old Dick Ryder, of course, they're referring to Richard Ryder, poorly thought out character name. Yeah. Well,
was it poorly thought out, or was it one of those things where they're like, dude, okay, wait, guys, listen. What if we called the book Giant-Sized Man Thing?
But the thing is, when you're a kid and you picked up Giant-Sized Man Thing, pardon the expression, it didn't even occur to you that was like a joke. You know what I mean? As an adult, it's hilarious. But as a kid, you're just like, oh, it's a giant-sized and it's Man Thing.
Mm-hmm. Giant-Sized book featuring Man Thing. Yeah, I'm on board.
Mac Grendel says, Ms. Marvel is a hottie, but always loved that Nova suit, helmet especially. The helmet I did as well. Paul Taylor wants to know, is that a John Romita cover for Ms. Marvel? It is indeed a John Romita cover. And
that might be why it drew me more too, is because it had the Scorpion on it. Obviously, it's got J. Jonah Jameson and the Spider-Man cast there on that first issue. So, that's but you can always tell. This is the same problem with the current Ms. Marvel, is when you don't have your own rogues gallery of villains. Can anybody in the chat? I doubt anybody in the chat reads Ms. Marvel, because who does? But can you name a specific Ms. Marvel villain? Does one even exist? I don't know.
That's an excellent question. I mean, because Mystique showed up in there, but then she became more of an X-Men villain. She wasn't a Ms. Marvel villain. I'm trying to think.
It's all built to Rogue stealing Carol Danvers' powers and led to all that really good X-Men stuff, all the stuff that I loved, going on in the X-Men. And that's my entry to comic books was the G.I. Joe comic book by Larry Hama. I'd had comic books before then. I would go to my great grandmother's house, and her neighbor would have like a big box of Archie digests because she liked to read them. And then she'd give them to me, and I would sit there and I did that, and like DC's Sugar and Spike, all those digests. And my other grandmother would get me like Star Wars comics because I was obviously big into Star Wars at the time, like everybody was. And so I'd see these ads for these other characters, but it was really and occasionally I'd pick up a Spider-Man or things like that, but I never kind of got the bug until I got into collecting the G.I. Joe comics because I played with the toys. Those commercials on TV were so good. It was like they found a back door to advertising the toy line you couldn't do that on TV at the time, but you could advertise comic books. And so they would show you all that stuff and it would make you want the toys. So I got into that, and then I started seeing ads in there for like X-Men and other books, and I was like, what are these about? So, you'd get on your bike with your friends on a summer day, and you'd pedal your way up to the 7-Eleven. They'd have the whole comic spinner rack there, and you would go through it, and you'd spend your allowance on books that were 60 cents, 75 cents, and go home and read them till the covers fell off.
Yeah, well, it was 25 cents in my day. But I will say this, I drew Ms. Marvel, of course, for almost 2 years, and I don't think there was a Ms. Marvel villain ever. I mean, she fought with Iron Man. Someone pointed that out in the chat as well, that Iron Man's her main villain. But it's like,
she did murder him.
Yeah, well, but I was like, Brian Reed, who was writing the series when I was drawing it, was like, what do you want to draw? And I'm like, MODOK, so MODOK became her villain, and then she went to Monster Island because I wanted to draw monsters. So we draw Kirby monsters and jungle and stuff, so it was like, there was never, in the 2 years I was on the book, there was never here's the Ms. Marvel villain that we've been waiting for, or that from her past. So that's an excellent point.
Do you remember when MODOK was actually a horrifying villain and actually like would show up and was scary?
Yes.
That's
how I drew him. That's how we played him.
I missed that because, we ended up, I don't know if you've seen Quantum Mania, but I don't.
Not yet. No.
Do. It's like MODOK has just become a joke because now you have writers who come in and they're like, they look at these great villains like Taskmaster or MODOK and they're like, oh, they're so goofy looking. Let's make them silly. Oh, look at Taskmaster. He's like a skeleton pirate. You know, so is the ninja pirate. He isn't that stupid. And oh, MODOK's got a big head. Isn't that stupid? Let's make him ridiculous. And I miss when you had creators on the book that cared about the characters and were invested in them, and made these villains actual threats.
That's what we call the really good old days. Koth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven says Deathbird was the only reoccurring villain in the 1970s Claremont era. There you go. Okay, so Master of Kung Fu or Iron Fist?
Iron Fist, super easy.
Me too. I agree with you on that. Was it just the John Byrne thing, or what was it?
A lot of it was John Byrne, but it was also just I never really connected with Shang-Chi. It was a little bit before my time, and I never went back and collected like those issues. But Iron Fist was relevant when I started reading comics, so I went back and I started looking into his stories, and especially when I found out that there was Byrne art connected to it. I just always kind of liked his origin better. I like the fish out of water kind of story of Iron Fist. I know that you can't do that anymore because now everything has to be, that's cultural appropriation and all this other nonsense that we hear. But he's just a better character. And especially, even though the actor that portrayed him in the Netflix shows wasn't fantastic, I still think he's a better choice than the actor who portrayed him in the portrayed Shang-Chi. So, even into the modern day, it's always going to be Iron Fist. Plus he's got a cool look. This guy's a Bruce Lee ripoff. Yeah. That's very clear that's what they were trying to do. It was the 70s. But Iron Fist is his own thing. He's got his own, his own lore that's interesting and exciting, and got to go with that. Look at his fist.
That's the thing. That's the thing for me too. Is with it, Iron Fist looked like a superhero. When I was a kid, Shang-Chi looked like a book that was maybe for older kids because it was kind of like I didn't get I thought the art was really great, because they had great artists on it, and Paul Galassi and Zach and Starlin began the series. But there was no superhero element to it. There was nothing supernatural to it. I thought it would just be a karate book, right? Which is, but it's a karate adventure book or whatever. That backlights you.
that made it worse, right?
Yeah. You're being mysterious.
I gotta
but anyway, so I never picked up Shang-Chi, even though I love the concept that his dad is like Fu Manchu. I thought that was fantastic, which was like an element they should have used in the movie, but didn't. Maybe they couldn't get the rights to Fu Manchu. I don't know. But
I think Fu Manchu also is Fu Manchu public domain now.
He might be. I mean,
but I think that they were like, oh well, that's an ethnic stereotype, and we can't do it.
Right. Well, that's probably why they didn't use him. Yeah.
It's just all the sensitivity. Like I don't know if you saw it, but like Roald Dahl's all his books now have been read by sensitivity readers, and they've the Oompa Loompas are gender neutral, and you can't call kids fat.
I saw something like that, and I was just like, ugh. But
I want to tell you guys, when I do my creator-owned book, my sensitivity readers are all incredibly insensitive.
And that's the way it should be. All right. Excuse me. Warlock or Captain Marvel, both by Starlin. So
I didn't appreciate Captain Marvel until after I loved Warlock. Captain Marvel was dead by the time I got into comics. And I read the Death of Captain Marvel, and I thought it was really good, but I didn't have that long-running connection with him until I started really getting into Warlock. And by then he was coming back, and Starlin was bringing him back into the Silver Surfer in the 90s. And then I went back and I read a lot of the old Captain Marvel stuff and really came to appreciate it. I love Jim Starlin. I had the chance to meet him for the first time a couple of years ago at a show up in up north, and just a great guy, and had a good conversation with him. But I was always more familiar with Warlock just because it was more of a part of my comic reading as I started out.
I discovered Warlock after Captain Marvel. I'm going with Captain Marvel just because he was earlier. But the Starlin art is what made me pick up this issue. In fact, is the first issue of Warlock I ever picked up when it came out on the stands, and I love the artwork. That's an outfit that only would work in comics. But I was a semi-regular reader of Captain Marvel. And Warlock, I just picked up a couple issues here and there because Warlock, if you ever read those issues, I don't know what Starlin was on, but man, that stuff was out there. And it was really hard to kind of follow what was going on. Where I felt Captain Marvel was more a traditional superhero book in a sense, even though it was, it it was in outer space, but he had Rick. What's his face? The guy
Rick
that
Jim.
was, was his partner. That kind of switched places with him. And the guy what did you say his last name was?
Rick Jones.
Yeah, Rick Jones. Yeah. He started off as like the Hulk's sidekick. Then he became Captain America's sidekick. Then he became Captain Marvel's sidekick. So, but it was like, he was sort of the grounding thing that sort of, if Captain Marvel got too weird, you knew Rick Jones was on Earth and things were sort of normal. So I'm going Captain Marvel. So there you go.
It's still one of the most striking costume designs in comics, I think. Just simple, but effective.
All right. Now, you know what I'm going to pick on this, even though it's hard, really, being
Garfield versus Heathcliff?
No. Swamp Thing, Man Thing.
I'm more partial to Man Thing because I was more of a Marvel guy.
I've
come to appreciate Swamp Thing since then. I've read Alan Moore's run. Obviously, some really great stuff in there. People, it's not going to come as a surprise to anybody who knows comics, because it's one of the most praised runs ever. But Man Thing was I was just more of a Marvel guy, and Man Thing would team up with like Howard the Duck, which
yeah. Past Master Dan says he likes a good Man Thing. Swamp Thing, people are, of course, saying the Heap. Of course, that's what Man Thing is a ripoff of, is the Golden Age character, the Heap. Swamp Thing. Does
McFarlane own the Heap now?
He might. That's a good question.
Figure of it.
I know. I think he does, actually. But the funny thing for me is I was a huge Wrightson fan, but that was the only reason I read Swamp Thing, is because Wrightson was drawing him.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone else, even though Nestor Redondo did a fantastic job after Wrightson, it's so overlooked how great of work he did on that book after Wrightson left. But Swamp Thing was always, once Wrightson was gone, I was gone. It was, to me, they were intertwined. Man Thing to me was, I just liked his look because it was more unusual, with the carrot nose and the carrot things, whatever those are.
Yeah, Swamp Thing looked like a guy, and Man Thing looked like a beast, and that's another thing that like kind of always drew me to him. Plus, I had a bunch of someone had given me a bunch of like D&D monster manuals when I was a kid, and so I used to go through them and look at all the monster art, and he looked like a shambling mound. Now I don't know which came first. I don't know if he got ripped off from D&D, his look got ripped off from D&D. I presume that D&D ripped it off from Marvel, but.
Well, yeah, Man Thing first appeared in Savage Tales #1, 1970. So Man Thing actually came out a couple months before Swamp Thing did. So much like Hollywood, somebody must have got wind that, they're doing a Swamp Monster book. We got to do one too. And the race was on to see who could get it out first, probably. But
there's a Dungeons and Dragons toy. It was, I want to say it was by LJN. And it was just a big hunk of rubber, and it was like, here's the shambling mound, but it was Man Thing, and so I bought it at like Pick and Save, which was like a clearance store, like a Ross would be today. Pick and Save has become Big Lots, if you guys don't know that, but they used to carry like a lot of closeouts and things like that. So the Dungeons and Dragons toys went there, the Karate Kid toys went there, Rambo toys went there, as everything would get clearanced out. And so you'd pick stuff up really cheap. And I bought it because, not only because it was like from D&D, but I was also like, this is just Man Thing. So I had a Man Thing figure to go with my little Secret Wars and my DC superpowers.
And I've got a Man Thing statue over there and a Man Thing action figure, courtesy of you, of course. Okay. So Wolverine or Punisher?
I was an X-Men guy, so as much as I did love them both, kind of like for the same reasons at the same time. But Wolverine, that was when they were doing like I got the Wolverine limited series, which is just fantastic. It's got Frank Miller art. It's written by Claremont. So but Punisher had those Zek covers that I was like super into. But I've always been an X-Men guy, so for me, it's Wolverine.
This is hilarious because I'm watching the chat, and you guys, I am reading what you're writing. I'm not posting everything, obviously, but it is back and forth on every one of these. It's like half and half. There's no consensus, which I think is funny on any of these things. I'm Punisher too because I was never a big X-Men guy. Someone asked earlier, X-Men or oh dang it, was it Avengers or an X-Men, or was it X-Men or something else? but it was never X-Men for me. I just never got into them. I liked X-Force because Louise Simonson was writing it, and Walter took over the drawing chores, and that's when I picked it up and then kind of.
That's X Factor.
I'm sorry, what did I say? X-Force? I meant X Factor. Yeah, I'm sorry. Because it was the original X-Men, and I've always been sort of anti-establishment. So it's like, everybody loves the new X-Men. Well, then I'm going to like the old X-Men. But I never liked the old X-Men when they were just the regular old X-Men. I never read it. But when they became X Factor, I started reading it and really enjoyed that book. And so I was never, I mean, I like Wolverine as much as anybody else does, but I don't love Wolverine. I always thought the Punisher was cool. He showed up in Spider-Man first. And then that Zek Stephen Grant miniseries really was, I thought was just great. And of course, he got watered down and has become something else now. But, when Mike Barron was writing them, and I think didn't Chuck Dixon write some of that stuff too?
Yeah,
and,
Chuck wrote some great stuff.
Yeah. And so when he was really hot in the 90s and they launched the Punisher War Journal, and they had his own series that Klaus Janson was drawing, I was buying that stuff. Wolverine, I was kind of like, X-Men, whatever. But I did like the Punisher.
I liked Wolverine. Like I said, I was an X-Men guy. And, I'd gone back and I'd gotten like the Dark Phoenix saga. So I got to see where Wolverine kind of came into his own. But he wasn't the heavy focus of the X-Men. And I think that's, if he would have been as pushed to the forefront as he became later, I probably wouldn't have liked him as much. But he was part of an ensemble, and I really kind of liked the way he fit into that. So probably like as an individual character, I would probably have to like waffle and say Punisher. But because Wolverine was part of an ensemble team that I loved, and I thought he had his own unique place in it, that really appealed to me. And especially that Wolverine miniseries by Claremont is so good. There's just that he just gets humiliated. If you guys haven't read it, please go do it. He gets humiliated by Mariko's father. And he gets embarrassed in front of the woman that he loves. The guy just tricks him and humiliates him, and he's like cast out. And then as he finds out like how he was set up and all the terrible things that her father's involved in, he comes back, and there's just this great moment where, because the last thing that Shingen, her father, says to him is that you are not worthy, and like casts him out. So when he comes back for revenge, there's this great moment where he's like just cut through all the hand that, all the ninjas that are working for her father. And he's in the middle of the courtyard, and he yells out, "Shingen, am I worthy now?" And then they just have a knockdown, drag out battle. So from that moment, I was a Wolverine guy. But there's great Punisher stories. There's great Will Spataccio art on some of those early issues.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely great.
Okay, so the question was X-Men versus Fantastic Four. Who did you take? I would take the Fantastic Four because I just never was an X-Men guy, but I was never a big Fantastic Four guy either. I was a Spider-Man guy and Avengers, and that was and Cap. And those were my things I focused on superhero-wise mostly as a kid. But I prefer the Fantastic Four to the X-Men. And I would sue you prefer the X-Men.
On Fantastic Four. And then some of the other stuff I loved later. Like I like, even I think it was Steve Englehart when he was doing Fantastic Four. Wasn't my favorite run, but I would take that hands down over any of the stuff that's coming out today.
Well, you can say that about any title, can't you?
Yeah, pretty much. There's a great moment in Englehart's run that I love where Doom has this line, like they come down to the lobby and Doom is standing there with Alicia Masters. And Human Torch loses it because, that's his wife, and, why is Doom there with her? And he throws himself at Doom, and he's talking about how his powers, it's kind of the Anakin line from the prequels, my powers have doubled since last we met or whatever. And Doom tells him, your powers can only be owned, but Doom's powers is matchless mind, which makes his might whatever he chooses it to be, and just takes the torch down like nobody's business. And I was like, to me, that's like Englehart's like shining moment on the Fantastic Four. That's the moment where I was like, oh yeah, good stuff.
Paul Taylor, of course, points out Englehart was writing Captain America and the Avengers. And so at the same time, so we bought both those books. And I was more focused even as a kid on artists than I was writers. But that's probably why I picked up Avengers and Cap, was because they were both sort of harmonious with each other because Englehart was writing both. He did write my favorite Cap issue, which is 164, which was Nightshade, the first appearance of Nightshade, where the Falcon gets turned into a werewolf. And there's she was like Nightshade, Queen of the Werewolves, and Alan Lee Weiss did the art in it. So it was very much more illustrative than your normal comic book at that time, and so it really sort of grabbed me. Okay, here's your last one, and then we'll move on to Bigfoot. if you don't mind. Star
Let me
Lord.
let me just take a quick break. I want to turn a light on in here because I'm getting very dark on the screen. It looks like I'm in the witness protection program. And also, I'll be back, and also I'm going to run to the restroom really quick. I'll be right back.
Well, you're not supposed to tell people that. You just go, I'll be right back.
It's number one.
Okay, all right. I'll talk about you while you're gone. Okay, so Star-Lord. Now, the original Star-Lord, I'm not talking about Star-Lord from the movies. I'm talking about the original Star-Lord that I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, that John Byrne was the first artist to work on Star-Lord, wasn't he? In fact, I think that was his first Marvel work. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Jack of Hearts, from an artist standpoint, if I had to draw that every panel, I'd go insane. So someone pointed it out here that they talk about there it is, Wolverine. Jack of Hearts, over-designed, but at least interesting. When I saw this come out, and it has nice little Rudy Nebres cover, of course, in Marvel Premiere, which I kept my eye on that book, because if there was anything kind of cool or like a first appearance, I would grab it. But I have to admit, I had this sort of fascination with Star-Lord, because I remember Star-Lord when that magazine came out, and I was a little kid, or at least I seem to remember feeling like I was a little kid. Maybe I was older, I don't know. But Jack of Hearts came out much later, and Star-Lord was in those black and white magazines that were kind of cool. You know, you'd see the comic books, but then they had the black and white magazines, and that was just kind of cool, you know? So I remember seeing Star-Lord in those black and white magazines, the Marvel previews, and thinking that guy's kind of cool. So I don't have like a great recollection of doing a deep dive into reading either one of the characters in their original incarnations, but Star-Lord would be my pick. Aaron was 30 when it came out. You know, I hate to keep. Oh, wait a minute. Hyper Potato, you haven't got blown up yet today, have you?
Right to the solar plexus, man.
Wait a minute. So Byrne's first work was giant-sized Dracula. It wasn't on Star-Lord, okay? I stand corrected, Lewis. Thank you for pointing that out.
Dracula's giant-sized man thing.
Jack of Hearts had a 4-issue miniseries in the 80s. I believe he did, but don't quote me on that. Oh, see, look at I'm just so wrong. It was neither Byrne drawing Star-Lord first, nor was it his first Marvel work. But he did draw him, right? At least I'm right about that. Jeez, guys are picking on me. So what do you think, Star-Lord or Jack of Hearts?
I never read that Star-Lord. Never read that version. So it's Jack of Hearts for me. I always thought Jack of Hearts was weird and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And
he is
do you
weird
remember
and
that period
interesting.
in Marvel where he just kept showing up in books? There's like a 2-year period where like everybody was just all about Jack of Hearts, and then he went away again.
Yeah. Well, as I was saying when you were off for a moment, was that I would, as an artist, I would hate to have to draw that every panel. I mean, look at that costume. It's like, are you kidding me? Ugh.
Yeah, they simplified him later.
Good.
Star-Lord probably much easier to draw, right?
I mean, I would just like go that and go, oh, we're doing Jack of Hearts miniseries, Aaron, here. And I'm like, really? Do I have to? I'd be drawing him in shadow all the time. I can tell you that.
Who's the worst character to draw? Not because, you know, you hate their costume design or anything, but just because it's so complicated to draw them.
When Ari Gravinoff redesigned Iron Man, that was painful. Because I'm not a technical guy to begin with. Mm-hmm. And, you know, yeah, I would say Iron Man, once he got redesigned and got, because when it was the Gene Colan armor, it was like, that's a piece of cake. I like it, you know. Mm-hmm. It's easy to do. But yeah, Iron Man was the one I hated. Probably off the top of my head. There might have been somebody worse, but off the top of my head, Iron Man, when he was redesigned and got complicated. And they actually made him look like he was wearing functional armor. I was like, I don't want anything to do with this. Paul Taylor, Canadian, $10. Thank you so much, Paul. I like this walk down memory lane, particularly the 70s. You should look at some of DC's stuff like Dave Cockrum's and later Mike Grell's Legion. Great comic. I was never a DC guy growing up, so I don't have that sort of nostalgia for the DC stuff. I only read Spectre and Deadman and Swamp Thing were the only three things, the monster books, that were the only ones I ever read. So everything to me, I was a total Marvel zombie growing up. Oh, okay. Well, that was our little our walk down 70s lane, if you will. But now there's something that people, they wait for this. This is like the pillar that my show has become. It supports the whole show. And we're going to actually, you know what? Oh, after that big intro, I'm going to do something quick. We do a little thing called Precious Moments from Yesteryear. And I want to play this because it does relate to something that I've got to give Aaron Sparrow a hard time about. And then we'll go into Bigfoot. So here it is. Let's look at our precious moments from yesteryear.
Con bloodsucker. You're gonna have to do your own dirty work now. Do you hear me? Do you? Kirk. Kirk, you're still alive, my old friend. Still old friend. You managed to kill just about everyone else, but like a poor marksman, you keep missing the target.
You keep missing the target because he didn't have his Star Trek II phaser. Now, Aaron Sparrow prides himself in being a toy guy. And I said, Aaron, can you hook me up with a Star Trek II phaser? And he never was able to do it. He's gotten me many other toys. I have to give him credit. He hooked me up with some Warner Brothers Looney Tunes toys that I thought I'd never find. He found them. But this, he never found. I had to find it myself. The batteries are dead, or I'd shoot you with this phaser. No, it's just, yeah. I didn't replace the batteries.
There's two things that and then there was a couple of Herculoid figures. Like you reached out to me and you said like, hey, I found out they made some Herculoids figures. And I was like, yeah, that was a little while ago. But I knew at the time, I knew a place that had them, on clearance. And so I was like, yeah, I think I can get those for you. And then I went and I looked for them and they were gone. Like they were gone. So I ended up finding you one of them. I think. I
traded, a guy wanted some artwork and he actually had all three of them. And I said, well, I only need two of them, the Herculoids play sets. So I was able to complete the set by actually trading art for it, which is always my favorite because I hate spending money, but trading art, it feels like, well, if I haven't sold it yet, I'll just trade it. So, but yeah, that was the one epic fail that, Aaron, that you had for me was that Star Trek II phaser. And I will never, ever let you live it down. But now, after that big intro,
if I die before you, that you're going to get up and you're going to eulogize me with that.
I am. I'm going to hold it up and say, I'd love to say good things about Aaron, but this sticks in my craw. Anyway, now we're going to do what I do every week as I've become obsessed with Bigfoot. So let's go down that road. I'm going to bring you with me, Aaron, and get a little commentary from you. I would love to believe in Bigfoot, Aaron, but do you believe in Bigfoot?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, well, that's about the most relaxed answer you could possibly give without putting yourself in any jeopardy.
I don't believe in Bigfoot. I don't want to do that to his self-esteem. I would hate to think that he's about to do something. He's about to like go out and he's about to really like try something that he's been struggling with, and he's like, I'm going to do it. I'm finally going to do it. I'm going to build that cave or whatever it is that he's invested in. And then he finds out, well, Aaron Sparrow doesn't believe in you. And it's the idea that could crush him inside. I don't want to be responsible for that. Although maybe it would motivate him. Maybe he'd be like, I'm going to show Aaron Sparrow that I can do it.
Well, as a kid, I wanted to believe desperately, and I've always been cynical, even as a kid, I think, but I wanted desperately to believe in Bigfoot, but I'm just still searching for that evidence that's going to say, you know what, there he is. But what I'm going to show you now is evidence that probably won't convince you of anything, but But this is okay. Now look at this.
Like
Now
the
this
moon
isn't.
landing.
Now this is not Bigfoot, but we always like to throw in maybe the Wisconsin Dogman if we ever get a chance. Now, I can't play the audio because I'll get struck, but this shows up, and this guy is who's narrating this, right? This picture gives the name of some guy and says, this hiker disappeared and has never been seen from again, but this is the last image we found on his phone. And you're like, I don't believe anything you're telling me right now. But this is either probably CGI or somebody in a costume. But as you can tell, and this is what really bothers me, Aaron, and maybe it'll bother you too, maybe it doesn't. But when you see videos of bears and cougars, oh, there's a fox in the middle of the night. They're all clear as day. And you can say, oh yeah, that's a bear. Anytime you get a monster, it's blurry. Wait a minute. Let me move the camera as I click the photo. It's like, I don't know. What do you think about this? Are you buying this at all?
Well, here's the thing with your theory. Is generally when you get those images of a fox or like they're standing still, they stop and they freeze because they're like, oh, or they're walking in front of a night camera, so they don't even know that it's there. So You're getting a really clear shot of them. This sort of thing, if this is coming at you, I don't know that you're not going to be like, hang on. Oh, wait. Okay, the lighting is good. Okay, yes, got it. That's not going to.
Now, wait a minute. If you have enough wherewithal to say, okay, this thing's probably going to eat my face, but I'm taking a picture of it, then you got enough wherewithal to hold your camera steady to get that shot. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe, it's like you have the camera up and you're like, you're just like, oh, what a nice day in the forest. I'm going to get a shot of that. And then you hit the button, that thing jumps into frame.
Well, Tactus Jones says fake. That wolf needs to start lifting. Of course, working out seems a little underdeveloped. They're saying Jersey Devil maybe.
He's lean. He's got lean muscle. He's like a sprinter.
Yeah, exactly. So he's in it for the long race. The short sprints. He's like an alligator. He'll track you down, but if you can outrun him for like 100 yards, he's out of wind. He's done.
That's not a Bigfoot though. That's clearly a Lugaroo.
Yeah. Moving animals end up being blurry to me. Okay, Gordox Pub. Now see, he's jumping in on defending the. Paul Taylor, our resident biologist and scientist on this show, says, how can you possibly disparage this image? It looks so real.
Well, I'm looking at it and it looks like he has a snout.
Yeah.
But if you readjust like kind of the way that you're looking at him,
it
also looks like he has more of a flat, like that where the snout, where it looks like it's the nose on his snout, that could be his open mouth. And then
then it becomes an alien, right?
Or like an owl bear.
Oh, that looks like my mother. Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible.
People go missing in the big national forests all the time. I've done the whole YouTube deep dive with all the people that have gone missing in our national forests, and they never find a trace of them. Nothing.
Is there a lot of people that's happened to?
There's tons.
Really?
And there's park rangers that'll come out and tell these stories about, stuff that's like super creeped them out that they've seen, that they can't explain. There's all kinds of things when you get deep into those, those areas that are dense and are not explored. So I'm not ready to rule out Bigfoot or some kind of, creature that we don't. Remember, if you go back to the founding of this nation, everybody knew that there were giants. And I think there's even a speech where Lincoln's talking about the burial mounds of the giants that are here in the United States. So there's a lot of things. I think there's a lot of things that have been kept from us. I think there's a lot of things that possibly have have died off, but that we didn't know about and have just kind of like become legend.
You're the perfect guy for this segment. I love it. It's kind of it's like point counterpoint. I love it. Okay, so I'm not as willing to believe, but that's okay. Now take a look at this video. This is live action. Let me mute this first so we don't get in trouble. It's not very long, but see what you think of this. In slow-mo. He's not walking slow. It's slow-mo. We've already have gorilla suit. Okay, that's some other guy. Let's watch this again. It's not very long, but what do we make of this? Now, if you'll notice here, Aaron, a lot of the videos we've looked at before they have these really long arms. This guy has short human arms, so this is clearly a dude in a suit. And he looks like he's walking like he's about to fall over. I don't like his natural ape-like balance that he should have.
Yeah, no, he's got a gait like a guy that's trying to look like he's not got a human walk, but
Yeah.
I'm calling
Fake on this. Yeah. I think we're going. We both agree on that one. That's fake. Yeah, Paul says that's a weird suit. Looks like an out of proportioned ape.
This is the old Mugato suit from Star Trek, and they just, dyed it brown.
Yeah, exactly.
Took the ice cream cone off the head.
No, Wolverine says, I respect whoever made this suit. It appears to have a buttocks. So, he put a butt in there, a little padding in the old rump.
Well, if you're Bigfoot, if
Drunk
you're
hunter.
Bigfoot, don't have buns, then...
The giant head is messing up his walk. Ooh, now this is horrifying. Brian Suddenly Old says, when I was doing trail work in Yosemite in the 90s, one of the workers found a human head, put our work back for weeks. I can imagine. Yikes.
I want to know more, like just torn clean from a body, or they just like ate the body and dragged it off and didn't want to mess with the head?
Yeah, was this like
Usually
a bear?
animals bite the head first, right? Like you see like when people get attacked by cougars and things, or they're talking about how the thing was biting their head.
Well, it makes you wonder, was this like a murder victim that they just tossed out in the woods, and got away with it? Or is it like someone got eaten by a bear? Right? That's pretty creepy.
I'm sure there's a lot of creepy human beings out in the woods too.
That's true. Okay. Speaking of more interesting.
This is why I don't camp.
Yeah, I know. Camping seems scary and dangerous to me, unless you're packing some serious heat and some bear spray. Okay, take a look at this, Aaron. Tell me what you think of this. This is out somebody's kitchen window, I think. Oh, let's see this again.
Did he drop his keys?
That's what I'm thinking. I was like, it fell out of his pocket. Look at the forearms and how they're loosely swinging. It's like they got a suit on, but their arms don't extend all the way to the end, so they're flopping back and forth.
He walks like Vince McMahon.
Could be. Look at the forearms. Look at how the bloop bloop.
Yeah, they're
like rag dolls or something.
Yeah, that's definitely somebody whose arms aren't filling out the suit.
Yep. So, does the chat agree? I think they do. Hyper Potato says, in the woods, there are creepy human beings in Walmart. Well, that's true.
Or in the comic industry.
Yeah, boy, isn't that the truth? GJ Martinez says he's looking for his beef jerky. He dropped his.
Is that a Jack Lynx reference?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. The Jack Lynx Bigfoot that the guys at the special effects house that my son worked at for 6 months. Name just went out of my head. But anyway, they did the Jack Lynx. They did the Avengers movies. They did the Jack Lynx Bigfoot, and that costume is more convincing than anything I've seen.
That's why I think that like it's getting tougher to determine whether or not anything's and any footage is real, because there's so many guys that can do so many intricate looking things, and then you go out in the woods to freak people out. I would never do it. Like I would never be like, I'm gonna go out and dress up as Bigfoot and like wander through the woods and freak people out, because next thing I know, I've been gunned down and I'm mounted on some hunter's Jeep.
Right, exactly. Or but they always, a lot of these introduction goes, such and such is a YouTuber who captured this. And I'm like, okay, if he's a YouTuber, he's creating content. All right. So that totally invalidates any of this anyway. But
yeah, what was he out there originally trying to film?
Right, exactly. Why was he out there anyway? Now here we go. Here's a college student allegedly got this at some sort of camp or something where he was at. Let's just take a look at this. Yeah, you know, I'm not buying that at all.
That could just be my friend Evangelos without a shirt on.
Yeah. To me, that's a guy in a fuzzy suit walking around, you know, a couple
Yeah.
of college buddies for some YouTube content. Yeah, you know, I don't even think that's worth a closer examination. I think that's so bad. This one I find compelling. I have to tell you the story behind it because there's a lot of extra video in here and there's a lot of commentary, and obviously we can't play that. But this is apparently, again, who's to say, but apparently a bunch of people saw this on this sort of slope here. So the video starts off with everybody sort of looking up there. Hey, what do you see? What do you see? We have a group of people here looking up at something, right? So there's a bunch of commentary here. And this is what they're seeing is a guy in a suit. That was not very convincing there. Let's take a look at this real quickly again. Right there, you can see him.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like he has like bell bottoms on, or the suit looks a little baggy around the legs, if you want to look at that. It's a little baggy around the legs. But then we move on and we get... they're talking, blah, blah, blah. Did you see that? It was Bigfoot. La, 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 la. And here we go.
We didn't see the feet. We can't judge.
Here we are. Now, I don't know. What do we think of this? There's definitely something there, but is it the same guy in a suit? Is it a bear? Is it, well, looking at the legs now, that looks kind of like the bell bottom effect that he had going with the suit. So I think it's the same guy wearing his pantsuit. His furry pantsuit. But this is far from convincing me of anything.
Was this filmed like when they were filming Revenge of the Sith and just one of the Wookiees wandered off set? You know, I don't know.
I don't. Yeah.
I feel like it's in an area where like a guy could easily access, and he's like, people go by, so like I'll be seen, I'll stay in the trees, you know, like
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of that. Like, you know, for a while it was popular for people to dress up as clowns and just go stand on lonely street corners, like or go ring people's doorbells in the middle of the night so that their like Ring camera would pick up like this clown coming up, you know, like, so, you know, that was popular for a while. And, you know, with YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and influencers and everybody wanting content and getting hits, you know, I don't really believe anything anymore, but I do I do think there's a lot of things in this world that we can't explain, and that we kind of
yeah, but here's my thing, and you haven't heard this before, but the audience has here. But my feeling is, if you can actually, and they did this a couple of years ago, the Japanese got live action photograph of a giant squid that lives miles or leagues or feet or inches. No, actually a long way underneath. I don't know exactly what the depth that these things are at, but if you can get photographs, you can find a giant squid and actually document it on a camera, or you can find, stonefish, or these weird things at the bottom of the ocean where we have such limited access. Are you telling me we can't find definitive proof of some ape living in the woods? I mean, come on. That's my biggest problem.
Think of all the things that we don't know are at the bottom of the ocean because we've never seen them.
Well, right, but we don't have the access. So everybody's out looking for Bigfoot all the time. You would have thought by now.
Are they?
Yes, they are, because they keep showing us the videos.
No one's ever invited me. Like, I've never had friends call me up and say, "Let's go hunt Bigfoot this weekend."
Okay, we got one last one.
And then I'll tell you a story. I'll just tell you a story about.
You got a Bigfoot story? I want to hear it. Okay, here we go.
Not a Bigfoot story, but just something about something that that you would think is fictional until it actually happened somewhat modern day, and
we'll see. All right, now he emerges out of the blackness here where those yellow arrows are pointing. Now they're letting us know in a handwritten note that that's Bigfoot. But let's take a look at this again. Now it's dark, so we can't really see much of anything. So it could be his buddy. It could be, And they did it in slow motion, so it's kind of effective, I kind of like this video because it seems like you're seeing a lot, but it's still super ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that leaves open the door to a little bit of believability to it. Of course, I'm calling fake, but I don't think it's a bad video. If you're trying to pull the wool over my eyes, you're doing a pretty decent job right there. I think that's not too shabby. So one more time. Look at him. He goes back and forth, goes back and forth. So you can kind of see his head in between the trees there.
I'm not seeing the video. Like the video is not on screen. That's all. Like you're watching it by yourself.
Oh, it isn't?
No.
Okay. Guys, this is what we call a boomer moment. Okay. I admit it to right there. I got so excited that I didn't share. Okay. Thank you, Aaron, for waiting till I got 30 minutes into it before you tell me that it's not even on.
I was like, is he setting it up?
Okay, here it comes. Here's this. That was the setup. Here it comes. You guys can see it now, right? Okay. There he is. So what do you think of this?
That's just Shaq. That's just Shaq, and he's wearing a dark suit.
Oh my gosh. See, now I'm getting abused in the chat again. I always feel like you set me up, Aaron. You could have said, hey, I don't see anything. But no, you waited for like 20 minutes and then you're like.
I thought you were setting it up like you were saying, like, here, the yellow, when it comes on, the yellow arrows are going to be where you're going to want to look. I thought you were like waiting, so I wasn't looking in the wrong place.
Okay. So again, to my point, it's just dark enough. It's just blurry enough. And then the fact that he's showing us in slow motion, you can't really tell if he's walking awkwardly or not. So, yeah, Bigfoot creeping around at night in the woods. Why not?
I need more information. I need to know where this was. I need to know what made him start filming to begin with. Was there just like noises coming from up there, and so he started filming, and then I just happened to catch this. There's a lot of things a lot of questions I would have.
No, I definitely think it's fake, but I think if for fakery, it's they did all the right things. Still camera, but then it's dark enough you can't see everything, but you can see a little bit, and they slowed it down so we can't see if it's too goofy or not. So
Jackie Daytona in the chat.
Yeah, nice of him to walk where they had the camera set up. I think so. Paul Taylor, our resident biologist, says that's decent though. The proportions are good. So see, he's on my side on this. We think that's not bad. Lloyd Delegard's like, meh. He's not convinced, and he's from Canada. So I mean, if he's seen like Bigfoot or a Yeti, I mean, that's kind of his territory. So he's unimpressed.
I feel like that's where you would see a Bigfoot because so much of Canada is uninhabited.
Yeah.
If there's any chance of anybody stumbling across a Bigfoot, although maybe they just go missing then. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. You see them once and then, well, that's it. All right, Aaron, now you said you have a story. So tell us the story of a strange discovery because I want to hear it.
Okay, I remember a while ago. I never saved it. I should have saved the article so that I could reference it and give particulars. But I remember years ago, I read this story, and maybe it was off of like Madagascar and like the Mediterranean or something. But there was a group of fishermen, and they were out, doing their thing. They were whale hunters, basically. Mm-hmm. And if you guys remember, even if you didn't go to Sunday school or don't know the Bible, I think pretty much everybody's familiar with the story of Jonah and the whale.
Sure.
Which is God tells Jonah to go to Nineveh and to preach to the Ninevites or else he's going to destroy them. He has to get the Ninevites to repent. And Jonah hates the Ninevites, so he doesn't want to. So he goes, God says, go do this. And Jonah goes, well, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna go make a sandwich. And so he leaves and he goes in the opposite direction. So biblical story. God prepares a great fish. Doesn't say it's a whale. Says it's a great fish. And Jonah gets, he's on a boat, and a big storm comes, and the sailors are panicking, and we're perishing. And then Jonah says, oh, it's because it's my fault. God is angry with me because I didn't obey him, and if you throw me over the side, then the storm will abate. And so these guys, being, great humanitarians, go later and toss him over the side.
Exactly.
Where he is swallowed by this great fish that God has prepared, that then goes and spits him up onto the shores of Nineveh.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he does what he's supposed to do. Very angrily, he just walks through town yelling, "Judgment, is coming. Yeah. Judgment's coming. 40 days." And the Ninevites, to their credit, all repent in the story.
Right, and Jonah's kicked off. Right, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, just imagine this angry prophet. He doesn't even want to be there. He doesn't like you. He doesn't want you to repent. He wants you destroyed. But he has to tell you that judgment is coming. And then you all repent. And he's like, doggone it. But so in this story, there was a storm and somebody had fallen. They'd lost one of the sailors. He'd fallen off the boat a couple of days earlier.
Right.
And they eventually come across this whale. I think it was I want to say it was a sperm whale, but I'm not even positive about that anymore because it's been years since I read this story. But they kill the whale and they pull it up, and they're gutting it. And as they're gutting it, all the fish and everything that it's been eating falls out, and this guy falls out too. And he's
I've heard that story, and I think didn't they have pictures of this or something of the guy?
I think so. Yeah, there were pictures with it when I saw it, and so he falls out. Now here's the interesting thing. Because of the stomach acid of the whale, his skin had been bleached almost white and all his hair had fallen out. But he lived. He lived for several days in the belly of this whale. And so now when I think of that biblical story, now the Bible doesn't say this, but when I think of it, I think of Jonah. I'm like, why did the Ninevites repent so easily? Because he wasn't giving them any information. He was just telling them judgment was coming. But now I think, what if he was bleached white with no hair and was this spectral figure walking through the city of Nineveh, yelling judgment, 30 days, 40 days, however long, I can't remember off the top of my head how long God had given them, but like judgment is coming. And he was like the spectral figure that looked like the guys from Prometheus.
Yes.
Town. And that's why they all repented, because they were like, what in the world is this?
You may be onto something. That's great. Green Laser says the other historical accounts of people being in a whale shark for a few days and surviving. So it's not unheard of. But I don't see how that makes your point about Sasquatch.
No, I'm just saying there's crazy things that, that happen.
Of course.
And, and we think that these are fantastic stories sometimes. And, but then something will happen. Like, the coelacanth, something else that people thought was dead, thought was extinct. Till they caught one off the coast of Madagascar. There's a Russian Twitter account. This deep sea fisherman, pulls up crazy stuff all the time.
I know, but the point is, he pulls it up, and there it is, and yet no one's pulled up a Bigfoot. That's my point. Yet. So anyway, the journey continues every week as I continue to not find Bigfoot. But gosh darn it, we're going to keep trying. Maybe, like I keep saying, I'm threatening maybe to go after Ogopogo next, which is the Canadian Loch Ness Monster. So there you go. Jackie Dutona says that whale story is more believable than Bigfoot.
Well, because whales exist. You're like, sure, that tracks.
Yeah. I've seen them, gosh darn it. Paul Taylor says depends on the whale, which I would agree. But anyway, so let's kind of rehash everything here before we go on our merry way. But I wanted to say, so again, the name of your project is?
Well, right now I'm using the hashtag Doomface is coming. I don't know if that's going to be the final title. I'm workshopping a couple of things, but it's under the hashtag Doomface or Doomface is coming, and then the individual character names. So if you guys follow me on Twitter or Instagram, that's what you'll see it under until I make like I start releasing covers with the logo and everything, and then we'll have our final title.
So people follow you on Twitter, they follow you on Instagram, they will get updates on this stuff as you make them available.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Doomface, there he is. I don't know how you can not like that. So, this is something I'm looking forward to, and I think you guys keep your eyes open because we'll see it later this year, hopefully in the summertime, right? So is what you're kind of shooting for?
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for. We're shooting to launch the campaign in the summer, and just really have some great preview pages, that kind of like sell the comedy and the action, and I want it to. If you guys have ever seen the Venture Brothers, there's a lot of comedy there, but there's also serious stakes. There's things that happen, and I kind of want to hit that nice balance to where you're getting a comic that you can enjoy on multiple levels.
Well, I for one, and I'm being serious too. I'm really looking forward to it. I like what you've shown us in terms of character design. I like what you're talking about. I like the idea that I do that a lot myself. Well, obviously not in Wraith of God, but Kit Carter or Power Cubed was a series that was an action adventure series, but it had a lot of humor in it. And I enjoy that kind of stuff. So what you're presenting to me right now is right up my alley, and I'm really looking forward to it. So you guys make sure you keep that in mind. And I know that Aaron will do his best to remind everybody as we go forward that this stuff is coming and keep sharing the good stuff with us as you get it. Of course, this is my campaign, Wraith of God Blood Hunters. We're at 136, 242 right now with 2,053 backers. When we get to 140,000, you're getting for free the Dan Lawless trading card of the Wraith, which is really, really cool. Of course, Dan, as I said earlier, is coloring the Garbage Man story in there, which is looking really cool as well. There is an art contest going on. If you are a non-full-time artist, you can be a part-time artist, but not a full-time professional artist, you're eligible to enter this contest. We got a couple of weeks left. I was going to wrap it up at the end of February. So, if someone calls me and says, or contacts me and says, oh, I need one more week, I'll extend it. And it's not that big a deal. But I have like 11 entries. I think maybe next week on this very show, we'll show those entries. I've been posting them on Twitter. So they're on my Twitter profile page. If you want to see what the competition is, go ahead and look on my profile page on Twitter and you'll see them down there. I think I've got, like I said, 11 entries right now. Some really good stuff. It's very competitive. It's going to be fun, but the winner gets $250 and gets their own trading card, or perhaps used in the book. I haven't decided yet, but I'm leaning towards trading card because I like the idea of sort of creating a whole set of cards from, Empire Comics and the Lopresti verse. And that's kind of, I don't know, it seems like fun to me. So I think that's what we'll do. The campaign itself has 4 covers that you can choose from. This great Simon Bisley cover, my wraparound cover right there, my Tales of Suspense kind of throwback cover that prominently features our backup story characters, Garbage Man and Nightclub at the Wraith there, of course, in the middle. But so it kind of harkens back to Tales of Suspense from 1966 or whatever, and of course the tribute cover to Tomb of Dracula #1. Which is also an option. So you have 4 cover options, or you just pick one, you can get all 4. We have shot glasses, we have hats. Here's some of the colored artwork for the first one, or pardon me, for the Wraith story. And then here's some preview color pages from Garbage Man. We have a Garbage Man print available. This is the great thing you want to pick up as a side item, is a Wraith of God Roughs Volume 2. This shows the layouts to the comic, and then you can kind of compare the layouts to the finished work in the book and sort of compare and contrast and see where I started to where I ended up. If you're kind of like a person that likes to pull the curtain back, as it were, and see behind the scenes, this is a great little thing for you. And it's like $15, and they're signed and numbered, limited edition books. So they're collectible as well as being a great little art, I don't want to say instructional book, but to kind of an artist's book that you would take to kind of see what layouts and stuff, and would, at least me, would do with my layouts and how I design stuff and bring it together. There's the Merv the Astro Chimp trading card that everybody that signed up early gets one for free. If you didn't sign up early, you can still get one, but I think they're $5 as an add-on. The t-shirts are at the printer, and I'm supposed to have them back in 3 weeks, which means you'll be getting them right as soon as I get them back. Hats, and the Garbage Man trade paperback's still available. Don't neglect that, because that'll keep you up to speed on what's going on in Garbage Man moving forward. So anyway, the link to this campaign is in the description of this video, and I'd appreciate it if you just take a moment to go check it out. If you haven't already, those of you who've backed it, thank you so much for making it possible, because we can't do these projects without you guys there supporting us and helping us get it done. So I want to thank you all in the chat for joining us today and putting up with our nonsense. I want to thank you for joining the 2 Aarons. Aaron, thank you for being here, because you not only served as guest, but as co-host, and you did a marvelous job. I'm going to have to warn Shelley that, might have a little competition for her job.
Tell her I'm coming for her.
Coming for you, man. It's like, it's going to be WrestleMania here. JG Martinez says, I love Wraith of God so much. The first book was out of this world. I'm so looking forward to the series to continue for a long time. Thank you, GJ. I appreciate that very much. Paul Ogg says, here's the story. Okay. I commissioned Simon Bisley to do the cover. He did the cover. He got it to me. He was late, but he got it to me. And then I bought the original artwork from him, which he's had for 4 months and has yet to ship it to me. So I keep bugging him going, hey, this is your monthly reminder to ship me the artwork. And he'll laugh and go, oh, yeah, I'll get it. I'll send it out, which he never does. So Paul Ogg alertly messaged me and said, hey, did you know that Bisley's going to be at the Fan Fest in Portland this weekend, meaning today, and or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I text Simon and I say, hey, Simon, I hear you're going to be at Portland. If you bring the painting with you, I can come and pick it up from you at the show. And I said, unless it's too big. And then he immediately messaged me back and says, what's your mailing address? So apparently he didn't want to see me, or he couldn't bring it because it was too big and too cumbersome. So apparently, though, Paul, it lit the fire, and I'm assuming that he actually mailed it out this time. So we shall see. We shall see. But to answer your question, no, I did not get over there to the show. If he had brought the painting, I would have gone. But it seems like it's more of an art show and not much of a comic book show. And I'm a guy who is more interested in old comics. And if I have to pay to get in, which I did, they did not extend any sort of, hey, Aaron, do you want a free membership or anything? So I was like, am I going to pay $40 to go over there? And nah, I can just text him and it'll be cheaper.
You didn't want to try me, don't you know who I am?
I didn't pull that because it's a Portland show, so they don't like me, I don't think. So being of the conservative way that I am, I just happen to have, for the Rose City Con, I just happen to have people in high places that don't give a rip about that stuff. And so that's why I'm continually a guest there. But this show has no such hang-ups, I would bet. Ronan says, Aaron, you will be replaced, not Shelley. So Aaron, you'll replace me, and Shelley and you will do the show, apparently, is what.
I think Shelley and I have an entertaining rapport. That might work. Neither one of us can draw like you, but.
Will Aaron be working on Aaron's book, Deliberately Ambiguous? I like that. I like it.
I might ask for a cover or something.
Hey, hit me up, dude. Because that'll be right about the time I'm finishing up with what I'm doing, and I would probably actually have time to do it. Sequential Treasures says, and that's James Mealy, of course, we do a show called Comic Art Convo, and he's always reminding me to remind you guys, don't forget, it's Saturday, this coming Saturday at 4:00 Pacific time, and we are talking about our favorite limited series, comic series, so that will be fun. So there we go. I got the plug in, James. I didn't forget. Of course, you reminded me, so I wouldn't forget. So anyway, Hyper Potato says, good luck, Aaron. I hate chasing art purchases. Yeah, I usually don't have to worry about it, but this is this is what I have to worry about. Although, as someone famously said to me, well, you know where he lives, he's not going anywhere. That's true. I'll be able to, I will hound him until he finally sends it to me, which, like I said, hopefully this time he actually did. Because I told him, I said, I'd really like to have the original here so I can, if I need to color correct the scan you sent me, that I can do that. So I'm trying to use all sorts of angles to kind of get him to ship it to me.
It's tough to go to the post office. I get it.
Well, I'll tell you this. I sell a lot of artwork, and the thing I hate the most is packaging the artwork. Because you got to cut cardboard. In my case, you cut foam core. I do a really good job packaging, so it's not a slow process. And so you're very grateful to have people to buy your original artwork, but then you're like, oh, I got to wrap this stuff. Anyway, so I get it. And if you're an artist and you're working and he's traveling, he's doing shows practically every week. It's kind of like, okay, where do I got the 20 minutes or however long it's to take me 30 minutes to sit down and wrap this and package it up and send it off. So I get it. But, at some point you got to, you got to send it.
Yeah, I got a box of action figures I got to send to my brother, and I've got a Monster High doll I've got to send to Neon over at Clownfish that I've been putting off because I hate going to the post office.
Yeah, it's a pain.
Gotta do it.
Custom God says, some of us in Portland like you, Aaron. I appreciate that. That's all I need is a couple people to like me, and all I need is a couple people to hit like and subscribe. Ooh, look at that segue. So to help this channel grow, you guys. We so, in all seriousness, greatly appreciate you guys Appreciate the fact that you're here every Sunday, that you come and watch Graybeard's Studio, that you support the projects. Nothing but endless love, which was a really bad Brooke Shields movie, but nothing but endless love to you guys. And I just really appreciate it. And Aaron Sparrow, thank you for taking a chunk out of your weekend to come and join me on this. And we're all looking forward to your project because it really looks cool and can't wait to see more. So thank you, Aaron. Thank you, chat. And we will see you guys next time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and stay safe.